Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the f*** up.
You're listening to Believe You Me with Michael the Count Bisping.
You know my name yet?
And Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Look at this. Anthony Smith has grown hair. He's changed colour. He's slimmed down, and he's living in Philadelphia. What's up, Paul? How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I wish I had my clarity. Look at you. You're looking sharp. Your picture's beautiful. I'm over here looking like my lighting's all terrible, and I got to fix it.
I'm beautiful. That's all that is. That's all it is, Paul.
That's all it is?
That's all it is, buddy. It's a steady diet of vodka and pizza.
That's good. That's good. Well, low carb with the vodka, and then you get your carbs for the pump on with the.
There you go. Gotta stay carved up. Thanks for taking the time today. I really, really appreciate it. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And of course, you're coming back. We'll start with that, actually. Paul Felder, Mr. Iron Lung, returning. When was your last fight, Paul?
Oh, my God. But last fight was 2020 against RDA.
Dos Anjos. Yeah,
Dos Anjos on short notice. And then I didn't retire until, I guess, later that year officially. So it's been almost 3 years, man, since I've stepped foot into that octagon.
Yeah, but it hasn't been 3 years since you've been training. And for anyone that knows or follows the sport, they'll know you've been competing in triathlons and you were taking that very, very seriously. You were getting to quite a high level as well. And for everyone watching, of course, there's a lot of breaking news going on right now. And we're going to get the thoughts from Mr. Paul Felder and all the shit going down in Abu Dhabi as well. But take us through, Paul, because I know you were having some hip problems. What was the issue? Give us that whole background.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, you know how it is. I still have hip issues. I'll always have hip issues. I finally just honestly got it MRI'd. I had no real issue. It's just there's lack of cartilage is really all there is. There's no injury. There's no nothing's torn or snapped off the bone or anything like that. People are like, how the hell are you training? I thought your hips were done. I'm like, I kind of got a little exaggerated with when I made that post about how bad they are, but it's just, eventually I'm going to need some work done in there. And that's kind of what prompted the desire to maybe get back in there, maybe realizing like, hey, there's only a short amount of time I could even reconsider getting back in there. I'm getting closer and closer to 40, but triathlon was much harder on the hips in that regard than even training. Like I go back, I do jiu-jitsu, I can do kickboxing, and it's not bothering it. It's all that running I was doing where it's just that bone on bone was getting just irritated over and over again. And so that kind of put me in this space of like, well, what if I go back and start training, see how I feel? So that's kind of where we're at right now.
You always left one foot in the door, though, because you were always hitting pads when you were on the road. Even at fighting meetings, you were like, is there a pad man here? Can someone, do a few rounds with me? So, I mean, I guess it's a shame because I know you love the triathlon stuff. Yeah. But there's a part of you, is it in a weird kind of roundabout way? Did you miss it? And now it's all kind of worked out for the best?
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying there.
Yeah, no, but that's true. And that's kind of exactly what happened. I remember as soon as I got back into the room and started training with the guys in Philly and stuff, I was like, man, how have I been away from this for this long if I'm still able to do this, even if it's just to go back and be a part of their journey to the UFC, be on the mats with Joe Pyfer, Sean Brady, Pat Sabatini, Jeremiah Wells, Andre Petrosky. These are all guys that are in the room with me at the same exact time in Philly. The gym is really kind of finally producing UFC guys at the highest level. And I've been out of their lives as far as a training partner for a couple of years now. And to get back, it's been fun just to even be sharing a match with them and getting my ass kicked, honestly, especially for the first month that I got back. The first day I went back, dude, I did a full session with just Sean. And I was like, oh, my God, maybe I don't want to come back. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to be here.
It's funny because it's been a while since I did some jiu-jitsu. I went back last week, right? And I loved it. I had a great time. And of course, it's different energy systems. I still work out, but I was blowing out of my ass. Yeah. The room was spinning a little bit, but I was beat up. I mean, I've still got a little bit of a cut on my cheek. And I actually said to my wife when I came back, I'm like, you know what? fuck that. I've forgotten how hard it is. You know what I mean? When like, that was just jiu-jitsu, let alone the sport or jiu-jitsu with ground and pound, the sparring, the lifting weights, the wrestling and all the rest of it. You put it all together, it's a tough toll on the body. But I wanted to ask you, in terms of, because obviously doing triathlons and your cardio is through the roof. I've been next to you on the treadmill a couple of times and been very, very embarrassed. But as I said, there is different energy systems. So when you went back to the gym, training with all the boys, how was your cardio? I mean, what was it at a next level, or what? Because it's a different energy system, was it kind of deflated? If you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and that's what a lot of people want to know. And always asking kind of what's harder, and like you just said right there, it's so different. But I have noticed significant benefits from all of the training that I've been doing, and it is in the endurance, in the ability to keep going far past what even guys that have been in the room every day are. You know, some guys are puking. I see other guys running off the mats to throw up and all that, and I'm nowhere near that. But muscular wise is where I felt it the most. I mean, I'm walking around like I'm 85 years old the next day because my muscles just haven't been through all that squeezing, the gripping, how much, damage you take when you're sparring, even just getting kicked on the arms, on the leg. So that is where it was a big shift for me to get back into training, where I was like, holy shit, I got to get stronger, quicker. My neck was killing me. But as far as conditioning, dude, I just got done training today, and now I've kind of taken that endurance sport mentality, and some days I apply it to MMA, where I worked with my buddy Ryan today. I hit 5 rounds of Thai pads. Then we put on our kickboxing gear. We sparred 5-minute rounds of kickboxing. Then we took all that off and we did 5 jiu-jitsu rounds. So I can do that kind of all day. But I just had to get stronger. I had to start lifting again. And mainly the grappling is where I felt it the most. I was like, all right, I got to get stronger.
Yeah. I would say that you officially entered the USADA testing pool. And that's when I was like, I know Paul's coming back. He's back in the USADA testing pool. That might not, well, it's not. That's not relevant anymore. We're not going to get into that. That is an evolving situation, a fluid situation, they might say. Then he came out. Say again?
I said a delicate one.
It's a delicate one. We'll wait until we have more clarity on that before I speak about that, and we maybe dig a hole for ourselves as UFC commentators.
Well, and that's till January, right? That doesn't take effect until January anyway. So I mean, they can show up at my door right now and test me as of today.
And would you comply? Because if they showed up at my house right now, I would tell them to right off.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing, right? Where it's like, all right, and I know that they're not the in the how do I say this? Dana's not exactly happy with the situation and those guys and how they went about kind of putting that release out really quick. And, I think there's a lot of, like we were talking about before we even started, there's a lot of information that the regular fans and people don't know about. It looks bad timing. There's the whole Connor thing, but I think in a lot of ways they're very unrelated as well.
Yeah, well, I think there's still going to be testing. It's just not going to be through USADA.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
When you look at sports, there's drug testing in a lot of sports, but it's not run by USADA. Anyway, steering clear of that for a second. So the comeback, if it's not USADA, or regardless whether it is USADA or whatever, UFC 300. I know that was something that you were thinking about. Perhaps somebody like yourself versus a Jim Miller, somebody like that.
Jim Miller, just somebody, even an RDA rematch. But the only problem is some of the guys that I obviously would love rematches against, like Dan Hooker, Rafael dos Anjos, they're in the rankings, right? And I made it clear. And even when I talked to Sean Shelby about the potential comeback, it's like I don't want people to think that I'm coming back and I'm trying to take on Islam and Charles Oliveira and the guys at the tippy top of the division. If I came back, the goal was to have one more epic fight at a great crowd, whether it's 300 or if they come to the East Coast in the spring or summertime or even somewhere cool in Europe. I just want a really cool crowd to go and fight in front of. I don't really care where it's at on the card, as long as it's not the Apex. And I hate to say I love the Apex, and I think it's great for developing fighters and getting guys main events and pushing them, but I've done that, right? And at almost 40, coming out of retirement, I'm certainly not going to do it just to come and fight at the Apex. When I would come back just for the glory of the moment, for the crowd, and to be able to drop my gloves in front of some sick crowd with somebody like you guys commentating to be like, all right, I'm officially joining you guys forever now. I just had to get that out of my system.
Yeah, because that's what it's all about.
If I win, right? If I win, then it's like, maybe I do one more. So we'll see,
All right. So we'll take it as it comes kind of approach right now. But you're right. I understand what you're saying. The Apex has been fantastic. Remember, it kept the sport going through COVID, and now, we still get regular fights every week, and it's great to kind of nurture that up and coming talent. But as you say, walking out in front of 20,000 people, that's what I miss. Now and again when we're on the road, because I commentate at the Apex a lot, and again, nothing against the Apex, but when I'm there and I'm commentating on the road, and you feel the energy of the fucking crowd, and
different,
then
man.
You think,
Paris, dude, like Paris. Oh. Dude, if they called me and said we're going back to Paris in the summer, I'd be like, I'll fight there. I don't care that it's not close to home. Like that crowd is having a send off in front, because they're great. They were great. UK, anywhere in I'd fight any of those places just because I know the crowds are great. That's really what I'm looking for.
Well, you bring up a good point there, because I do see a lot of fighters lately. They don't like to travel internationally, and for me, when I was active, that was part of the thrill. That was part of the buzz. Yeah. Training for a fight, jumping on a plane with all my team, going to the other side of the world and going to these countries that I would never dream of. Do you know what I mean? Like Macau. Do you know what I mean? I've never been back since. I probably won't go again. Do you know what I mean? And that's part of the thrill and the attraction. What do you think when you hear fighters say, no, I don't want to go fight there because I got to pay taxes or whatever? Guess what? You all have to pay taxes.
You got to pay taxes anyway. I'm 100% in agreement with you. And I say it to them all the time, especially these young guys that came up in this COVID era where maybe there was no crowds. I was like, what did you get into this for? I mean, it's like, I got into this to go and throw down in front of a crowd. You know what I mean? That nervous energy scared me, shitless, but it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Brazil. I wanted to go to, Scotland and fight Stevie Ray, fight Dan Hooker in New Zealand in his home backyard. I wanted to fight in Philadelphia when I was younger, and I had every friend that I could think of. It scares the crap out of you, but that's what it's for. When you finally get your hand raised through all those situations, and you're right, go into that host hotel. Where are we working out? Where are we going to eat? Let's take a walk. Let's go wander the city with your guys. I mean, that's what it's all about. You, your team, going over there, especially if it was in enemy territory. Then it's like, all right, it's us versus them type of mentality. And I mean, I don't understand why people don't like that, but I think part of it is that they grew up if they got into the UFC when there wasn't as much of that, now they're like, oh, geez, I got to go to Singapore. It's like, yeah, you do. Yeah. That's the game.
And I'm not defending taxes, because taxes suck and nobody wants to pay taxes. But I just saw recently people posting pictures of like the deduction and the taxes that they have to pay. Guess what? Most countries like Brazil, like Canada, like Australia, New Zealand, wherever, you pay a tax at the end of the year. And whatever you pay in that country will come off your taxes here in the States. Just want to clarify that. But I don't give a fuck. I'm not the IRS or the Inland Revenue, as we call it in America. Don't pay taxes, okay? Not an official statement. But I'm looking at your record here, Paul, and there's some legendary names on there. Edson Barboza, he's in action this weekend, got the job done there. Charles Oliveira at UFC 218. I mean, you had an amazing career, but this is the perfect segue to Charles Oliveira and UFC 294. Yeah. As we know, he pulled out. Unbelievable. I was looking forward to that rematch. What are your thoughts on that whole situation, Paul?
Well, it just sucks. The cut, it was nasty. But again, I don't know where he went and got stitched, but I mean, I just saw Mark Henry posted something about Frankie Edgar before he fought Jose Aldo, had a very similar cut on his forehead. And if you go to the right plastic surgeons, man, they can do wonders with that stuff and get it fixed up. But I get it that you don't want to go in there with against a guy like Islam. You want to be 100%.
It's pretty bad though. Look at that.
It's gnarly, dude. It's gnarly. And if Charles is pulling out of that fight, then it's bad, because he wants nothing more than to get back to holding that belt. But man, I was so looking forward to that, because he seems like, let's be honest, that first fight, he seemed overwhelmed, and then it seemed like he was like, okay, I'm done. Like, he tapped quick to that arm triangle, and I think that ate away at him. So I think we were going to see a very motivated version of him. But dude, if there's a badass that's going to step in and do it, it's Volkanovski. Is the man, dude. He's my favorite guy right now. I love this dude.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Obviously they fought in February, very close fight. And I'm going to annoy a few people here. I watched the fight back because I thought Islam won it because he did win. And I went in the octagon and I interviewed him as the winner. Do you know what I mean? And you'll know this, Paul, when you're commentating a fight, you don't, of course we have an idea who's winning and losing, but when it's a very close fight, sometimes we're not scoring. I watched it yesterday. I thought Volk pulled it off 3-2. Now he steps in, 10 days notice, flies to the other side of the world. He had surgery 3 months ago. His wife had a baby a month ago. And now he's flying to take on Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt on 10 days notice. I mean, that man's a straight up gangster, lives, talks the talk, walks the walk, BMF, whatever the fuck you want to call him. That man is as legit as they come.
Yeah, that's the BMF, right? We have a lot of these belts on the line and we have these fights where the BMF title is up for grabs. You're all fighting for his belt at this point. You know what I mean? Everyone's fighting for Volkanovski's BMF belt and the biggest balls belt because he said it last time that this is what he lives for, is taking these challenges, these moments that at the end of the day, when you're an old man and you're officially finally retired and you're sitting back with your grandkids, you're going to talk about the epic challenges that you're talking about, flying to other countries, right? We were just talking about it right there. Here's a guy that lives that same way, where that's what he wants. He wants to go into Abu Dhabi and try to shock the world. And man, he's got the skills to do it. I agree with you. I think he probably pulled it off the last time, and now he gets another opportunity. Dude's always in shape, and now he's got zero care about it. He's going to go in there and have there's no loss for him.
No loss at all. And now, just on the scorecard, I had 2-2 going into the fifth. And in the fifth round, Volkanovski drops him and finishes the round on top. So I gave him the fifth round. In terms of what you just said there, though, he has nothing to lose in a certain degree because, as we know, if you're stepping up to the next weight class above, your belt isn't on the line. So you've got nothing to lose, essentially. That's what we always say. I think it's a little different because we know, Paul, as fighters, we want to win. We want to get the belt. We want to get the money. But there's pride at stake. You know what I mean? Like a man over a man. I can beat you in a fight. And if he loses this time out, then that's 2 in a row that he's lost. And he'll never get a third one, more than likely. It'd be hard to see. So I think that's what's really at stake for him.
That's a good point.
But coming into this one, I don't think he's going to be. Listen, I remember in the first fight, at the end of round 2, Eugene Berriman said, "Is he strong?" And he said, "No, he doesn't feel particularly strong." He was able to stop most of the takedowns or get back to his feet. Yeah. He was able to defend the submissions. He was able to land great shots. So I think coming into this one, he's not going to have this image of Islam, the next Khabib, this big, bad, tough guy, the Dagestani that's destroying everyone. He'll be like, hold on a minute, I just went 5 rounds with you. And I left it pretty much unscathed.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. I think on the feet, we're going to see him be a little bit more willing to try to really go after him because exactly like you said, he's felt him on the ground. He's felt those takedowns. Now, granted, Islam got some and was able to get some control, but he was able to stay safe and work through it. So he's probably thinking each one of these rounds, I got 5 rounds that are all going to start on the feet. And if I can just keep stuffing those takedowns and let my hands go, it could be a different case. I mean, he dropped him bad and showed that he's got the power to put him away. So, man, I'm just excited. I think I don't want to say I'm more interested than the rematch with Charles, but I'm a little bit more hyped up to kind of see how all this is going to shake out than I was for him and Oliveira rematch.
As a guy that will be coming back to 155, that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would be 155. For a little bit there, I thought maybe 145 because I was walking around, honest to God, probably like.
You were pretty skinny.
I was like 173,
lean.
172. Yeah. No, I was getting skinny. Like, when our producer Zach Candido starts being like, dude, you're starting to look like sickly on TV. I was like, all right.
But for those that don't know, which is everyone, so your suits that the UFC would make for you, they were having to like shrink them down, get new suits because you were just getting too lean.
I'm glad that we didn't get rid of those suits because they're the same suits I'm wearing again now. And now I'm up over 180 pounds again and lifting again. And I'm still staying smaller than I used to back in the day when I fought. I'd get up to 195 is what I walked around at for lightweight. I don't need to do that anymore. Now
nobody's feeling your pain. Nobody's feeling your pain that you're getting too limp. You're getting an 8-pack instead of a 6-pack. My problem is that shit, this suit's getting a little bit snug. I can't do my top button up anymore without popping the button off.
That just happened to me this last week. I called Saturday and then Contender, and both times I was with Jimmy. You know, Jimmy's helping me with my tie, and the button just straight popped off, dude. Just ripped off of my dress shirt. So
poor old Paul Felder, he's just too in shape. I mean, we feel for you, Paul. We feel for you. Obviously, you're not filling in. You're going to be here for a little bit, and thank you for your time. Wanted to get your takes on all this stuff. We'll let you go in a little bit. If you've got a little bit of time, we've got a few more topics. We also got Anthony Pettis joining us, and we've got Drew Dober joining us in a little bit as well. But you're not going to be here next week. Anthony Smith is a bit under the weather right now, so he can't join us. What is your prediction on that, Paul? How do you think that one plays out
for the main event?
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, I'm calling it, so they'll get mad at me if I'm out here.
Oh shit! Oh my bad. No, you can't do that.
But I think it's going to be similar, Michael. I can say that, right? I mean, I can talk about how I think it's going to go down. I think Volk's too damn good for it to not be a 5-round fight, unless it's Volk that gets the finish. I don't know. I don't see Islam putting him away. I can see him winning the fight for sure because the dude's an absolute monster. Let's not kid ourselves here. But dude, I think it's going to be a battle, even on 10 days' notice. I think Volk's too damn good to get finished early or something like that. I think we're at least getting into the 5th round.
I think the only concern that I have for Volkanovski, and it's the unknown. We don't know what he's been doing. Excuse me. We don't know how hard he's been pushing himself. Because when he was fighting Islam the first time, of course, he's going up a weight class. He's going to bulk up. He's going to try and add muscle. He's working with Craig Jones or whoever it was, doing everything he can, doing a long extended camp. This is last minute. Now, granted, all of that work, the fight was only February, 6 months ago. Or 8 months ago, whatever it was. That's still in the tank. That's still money in the bank. The grappling exchanges, the things that he learned, all the rest of it, that's still there and he can still use it. The big question is, how in shape is he? What is his cardio like? Now, granted, he's a professional. I don't think he's a party animal. You know, he wasn't even breathing at the end of the last fight. He wasn't breathing hard. The real question is, can he go 5 rounds at the same pace as Islam? And if he can, then we got a real fight in our hands. But if he can't, I think that might tip the balance in favor to Islam.
Yeah. And then another thing too, though, is to consider that Islam has a pretty drastic cut, right? He really has to cut down to make 155. And I think that's the one advantage, even the last time, that Volkanovski has. That, he's a big, strong dude, and he used to be well over 200 pounds. We know that back when he played rugby and all that. But if he fights at 145 on the nose, championship weight, and he can make that seemingly not without issue. I'm sure it's a challenge for him, but for 55, he's going to be fresh. So you're right. It's really going to come down to, and none of us will know this, and they'll all lie to us and tell us he's been training 3 times a day. You know, he's in the best shape of his life, but we don't know. We're not in that camp. We don't know how many sessions he's been putting in, because he's potentially going to be fighting Tapori at some point, but was that ever officially scheduled? Was there a date?
I saw an announcement yesterday that Taporia versus Volkanovski is scheduled for UFC 297. If he wins and he's not too banged up, he'll still fight. If he loses, then he won't fight, and then therefore they'll do Max Holloway versus Ilia Taporia for an interim title. Now, I don't know. I can't remember the source. I don't know if that's official. It certainly didn't come from the UFC. Yeah. But, I mean, again, the fact that he's of the mindset, listen, I'll go in there, I'll fight Islam. As long as I'm not too bust up, I'll turn it around. Think of the fucking money, though.
Yeah, big time money, dude. Big time money.
I can't.
Money, I can't. You know, my young self just doesn't understand. I don't understand that kind of back-to-back title fight money.
Oh, geez, Louise. I mean, he's absolutely killing it, and rightly so, because he's one of the nicest guys as well.
He's
Volkanovski. And by the way, Islam, we got to give respect to Islam. It's like we're talking about Volk because this is the new wrinkle. Nothing against Islam. I think he's fantastic. He's a very honorable man, as we know, and fights like a motherfucker inside the octagon. So fair play to both of them. All right, guys, I want to tell you about Kachava, which is one of our newest sponsors. And I am telling you, this supplement, this super blend of superfoods and greens and proteins and everything that you need for your body is amazing. Listen, long gone are the days now where you have to go in and you got to have a protein powder, you got to have your super greens, you got to have your probiotics, your adaptogens, your antioxidants. Kachava has blended it all together in one. It gives you everything that your body craves and you will feel your absolute best. And the good thing is they are delicious. They are absolutely beautiful. It's creamy, smooth, and it comes in 5 delicious flavors. They've got the chocolate, the vanilla, the chai, the matcha, and the coconut acai. Listen, as I said, before you had to have your protein. Well, this has 25 grams of plant protein per serving. And as I said, it's got the superfoods, it's got the greens, the proteins, the antioxidants, the adaptogens, and the probiotics. And let me tell you, you feel fantastic after this. I'm really noticing a difference in my recovery from lifting weights. It's really helping with the protein synthesis. You feel great afterwards. You are energized throughout the day. I'm going to the bathroom nice and regularly, and it looks good when it's coming out. Anyway, moving on from that because it's disgusting, but this stuff is fantastic. Get it all in one. Get all the goodness and all the vitamins, minerals, proteins that your body needs in one little scoop of Kachava, and you can get 10% off for a limited time. So right now, go to kachava.com, Kachava, kachava.com/believe. You'll get 10% off your first order. Kachava.com/believe. Also, other breaking news, co-main event.
Yeah.
I mean,
surgery. This dude has surgery, weeks before the fight, and thinks, I'm just going to roll in there and fight Chimaev. Like, come on, Paulo, Costa. What were you doing, dude? You knew if they heard about this stuff that something was going to go south.
Hold on. I'm just going to bring up his record because Paulo Costa, I think I'm typing it incorrectly. If you go to his topology, it shows not only the fights that he had, but fights that fell through, right? Hold on. And there's a lot of them. He's out of his mind. I'm a fan of Costa. I love what he brings to the table. I was excited for the fight with Chimaev. They've been going back and forth, sending each other fucking DMs and stuff like that. And Khamzat was in the DMs of his wife. But look at all these cancelled bouts. Ikram, Khamzat, Rockhold, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker. Do you know what I mean? There's more down there. He's a bit of a madman, isn't he?
Yeah. He's been difficult to say the least lately. And before, remember, even when he did fight Vittori, he showed up and was like making his own weight class. Decided it was a 205 fight and not a 185 fight. And then he shows up and fights his ass off, and it's like, why can't you just do that without being so difficult? And if it's a money thing, then, man, you just sit out and you play hardball. You can't keep signing on the dotted line and trying to show up to these big co-main events because the UFC must have known, though. I'm sure they had either Usman, somebody was available and starting to train for something, knowing that this potentially could be in the books because I think they're worried about him no matter what.
Well, as soon as I saw that he'd had surgery, and it was 3 weeks ago, so that's 4 weeks or 5 weeks before the fight. I'm like, he can't fight like that because, all right, let's just assume that the surgery, the stitches all heal up just in time.
Yeah.
You can't train for a fight when you've just had surgery. You can't lift weights. You can't block head kicks. You can't sprawl. You can't wrestle.
Right on the elbow. It was like right on the
every time you move your arm, it's putting it under tension and all the rest of it. I mean, It's a shame that he got a staph infection, so he had to have that taken care of because that can be very, very nasty. It can be life-threatening as well. But, Costa out, Kamaru Usman, goddamn in. Thoughts on that?
Too. And I like this because I know he was debating on going up a weight class and things weren't working out. And I think he was getting ready to gear up for a fight potentially at 170 still. But, now – there's a shift in the division. There's a new champion. I've heard rumors he's been wanting to fight Khamzat. So now this just opens up a lot of opportunities for him. If he beats Khamzat, he puts himself right into another title shot at a different weight class.
Dana was speaking to Kevin Aioli from Yahoo Sports, and Kevin did a piece on it. He said Dana confirmed whoever wins this fight is the next man to challenge Sean Strickland. We'll get to that in a minute. But Kamaru Usman, for him, he beat Strickland back in 2017. Granted, he's improved a lot. That was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was champion of the fucking world. I'm a retired bum these days. A lot has changed, and Strickland has improved. But for Usman, he's got to be looking at this. I'm sure they cut him a nice, big, fat, healthy check.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big, big fight. Who knows? Maybe they offered him pay-per-view points. I don't know. We're just kicking the ball around. But then the fact that he might be able to fight Strickland if he wins, when he's already beaten him, losing twice in a row to Leon Edwards, being the former welterweight king, defending the belt 5 times, being pound for pound number 1, then losing twice. This sport moves on so quickly and people are quick to forget. So for Usman, this is the perfect opportunity to reinvent himself at 185, go out there, then fight Sean Strickland, in his mind, beat him and become a 2-weight division champion.
Yeah, fresh start, man. And we know how that is. It can be mind numbing, right? You're in the gym. It's the same thing all the time. You're the champion. It's even worse for a guy like him who's been so dominant for so long. And then you're on this streak. And like you said, it's like, oh, forget about this guy. Now he gets to come back against the boogeyman, somebody that everybody's supposedly scared to fight. If you can go out there and win that, I mean, shit, talk about revamping your career and getting a fire lit under your ass again to go out there and get a new belt. And then obviously I'd imagine if he wins, beats Khamzat, if he goes and God forbid he beats Strickland, there can't be much more left for Kamaru. I would think that would be near the end, right? Maybe defend it once, or maybe just leave and let his buddy Izzy come back and try to fight for it again at some point. Because I know they're buddies. I'm sure they don't want to fight each other. Yeah,
no, exactly. I mean, because that is the one. Because listen, I think everybody likes Kamaru Usman. If anyone has ever spoken to him, he's an absolute gentleman. There's no controversy with him. He's a very good human being and clearly an incredible fighter. Yeah. But I don't know if it's because when Leon knocked him out, when they fought the second time, in the third fight, I don't know if it was because of the knockout. I don't know if it was because he maybe got old overnight. I don't know if it's because of the wear and tear just finally catching up with him. But he looked not the Kamaru of, say, a year before that. You know what I mean? And so it could be one of many different things. You never know. Maybe Kamaru Usman comes out, shocks the world, destroys Khamzat, or maybe Khamzat goes out there and does what Khamzat fucking does.
He's a scary dude, man. He's a scary dude. I was watching some of his YouTube stuff, his training and stuff. I mean, he's a beast in there, man. He puts in the work. There's no doubt about that. And like you said, man, it's crazy how that works, right? We're looking at a guy that's dominant. Tony Ferguson, the same thing. As soon as he lost to Gaethje, it was like that was it. He was suddenly old, right? He suddenly looked old. Whereas, I mean, he was always in his late 30s. He'd been there for a while, working his way up, and now suddenly he just doesn't even necessarily look like the same guy. That could be what we see from Kamaru, or it could go the other way. That's what we're going to find out. But you're right. I agree. He did look just a step slower, but this is even further removed from that fight. Did he get better, or is he continuing to get old like the rest of us?
And you never know. I mean, as I said, he did get knocked out. So you can be gun shy. I've been there. You know, when you get knocked out cold like that, then, because I fought Dan Henderson again years later, and I was still a little nervous on the day. He went straight back into the octagon against the guy that just put him to sleep. So I don't know what that's like. I had a rebuilding phase, you know, won many other fights, and still when it came down to fight day, I was a little like, shit. Yeah. Last time I stepped in here with this guy, I got my light switched off, and the whole world laughed at me. So that can anyway. You mentioned Tony Ferguson there. Tony Ferguson, Paddy the Baddy. Let's just say Tony goes out there, beats Paddy Pimblett. Let's just say that. Don't disown me, UK. I'm just saying it's a theory. I'm going somewhere. Tony Ferguson wins. Paul Felder, Tony Ferguson, UFC 300.
Now you're talking, right? And that's how kind of where I'm at with that guy. That's why I don't mention Tony. Is I like Tony, and you know, I've been one of the guys that's saying, oh man, maybe it's time to, and this is coming from retirement, Paul, where I'm out. I'm like, man, come over the other side, Tony. Come join us over here on the retirement side. But if he goes and looks good against Paddy, that's an option too. I mean, that dude's an absolute legend of the lightweight division. But I'd like him to have a win. You know what I mean? Before I get back in there, it's like, you know, but who am I? He might not even want anything to do with me either. But that is something that was brought up, and I'm like, yeah, if he goes out there and can kick Paddy's ass, then it's a fun fight.
But that's why it's dangerous as well for Paddy, right? You just said it yourself. You want him to get a win. You know, because you know, if you want to be a hater on Paddy, which sadly there is a lot these days, and maybe sometimes he doesn't help himself. He's a good guy though. If he beats Tony, people are going to talk shit. Sorry, if he beats Tony, people are going to say, well, he lost his last 6 in a row. If Tony beats him, they're going to say, you fucking suck.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's a really difficult position.
Yeah, it's a tough fight. God bless him, because he's in a very tough spot, because you're right. He's going to get criticized no matter what. But at least if he beats a guy like Tony, even though Tony's on a losing streak like crazy, Tony has only fought the baddest motherfuckers on the planet, right? In that division. So it's still a step up for Patty. You know, the other fight that Patty had to step up, I thought when he fought Jarrett, that was a really close fight. This is even a bigger step up, at least as far as name recognition and skill sets, where Tony's just, if he can still, he's still dangerous. Look, he's looked good in the last couple of fights that he's lost too. It's just, you know, you start getting older. Bobby Green got hurt a little bit early on. Chandler, he looked good early on in the fight, and then things happen.
Yeah, no, exactly. So anyway, best of luck to them too. So UFC 294 is just around the corner. When do you fly to Abu Dhabi?
I'm leaving Tuesday night from New York.
Yeah. Great place. Beautiful hotels, nice people. It's going to be a ridiculous atmosphere. I'm kind of jealous, Paul. That fight card is absolutely ridiculous. If you had to pick one fight that you're most looking forward to calling, which one would that be?
Oh, man, now it's the main event for sure. Now it's the main event. It's been a while since I've called a Volkanovski fight. I had the pleasure of calling him versus Brian Ortega a while back and saw him fight out of that guillotine and all that craziness. But it's been a while since I've called a Volk fight, I think. And I like that guy. I like that guy a lot. Yeah. Who else is on the card? I had the card up earlier too.
Chimaev, then Johnny Walker versus Magomed. I mean, the card's ridiculous from top to bottom, really. But those top three fights are really what we're all tuning in for. Let me ask you this, Paul.
Yeah.
Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev, the winner fights for the belt.
Yeah.
And apparently so, according to what Kevin Ioli said. But Dricus du Plessis is the number one contender. What are your thoughts on that whole situation? Because I kind of get it. I feel for the guy. I do, because he is the number one contender. But he's been sitting around a little bit, and he took himself out of the Izzy fight. And then even when Sean beat him, he wasn't necessarily vocal. And the sport moves at such a fast pace, and these storylines develop. I feel for Dricus, and I would love to see him get his shot. But, I mean, listen, this is the way the cookie has crumbled.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes, man, you learn lessons the hard way in this sport. And I think that's what he's learning right now, where things are not always going to be picture perfect, injuries, things like that. You got to take the opportunities when they present themselves. And if you don't, there's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to understand that you're going to have to work a little harder to get back to those spots, right? And he sat out, stayed quiet. And now that's how Dana is. And he makes it clear that that's how the UFC is. It's like, listen, we've got to move. We've got to put fights on. We've got to put pay-per-views on, and we've got to make these title fights happen. And if you just want to sit back and wait around, it's going to move past you. So I'm curious to see where he ends up in this whole lineup, because but then again, we know too that even if, let's say, Kamaru wins, but it's not really anything special, maybe they go, all right, well, we need one more fight out of you. You got to fight this guy before we give you the belt. So who knows how things are, injuries, things shake out crazy ways in MMA.
Exactly. And shout out to Dricus du Plessis. What a win that was over Robert Whittaker. And what a guy as well. He's a really, really nice guy. Paul, triathlons, right? Yes. Not break down, but just tell me, how many miles on a run, the bike, the swim? How long are we talking?
So when I was doing them, I'm pretty much primarily did half Ironmans, or 70.3s, they call them. It's 70.3 miles. So it's a 1.2 mile.
Oh, pathetic.
Yeah. 1.2 mile open water swim, a 56 mile bike, and then a half marathon. So 13.1 miles was the.
Jeez Louise.
And my best time for that was 4 hours and 26 minutes.
See, that's insane. I've been doing the Peloton bike again in the morning. I don't have the classes because I'm too cheap. My membership expired. And I'll be honest, those fucking coaches, they drive me crazy. Yeah, you're doing great. You're amazing. Oh, my God. Let's have a quiet moment of meditation. I'm like, shut up. I just want to pedal. I don't need some 22-year-old lecturing me, okay? But I've been doing the Peloton. And, I do about 12 miles in the morning. But the times you're talking about there are absolutely wild. Now, the reason I ask you this is because it's going somewhere. Harrington, please show yourself. Bring yourself on the show. Have you met Harrington? I do believe
Yes.
Harrington, you're getting bolder by the day.
Yeah, that's intentional.
And more naked by the looks of it.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. Down to 232.5 now.
Take the shirt off. Lose the vest. Come on. Lose the
I won't. Oh, you think I won't?
Oh, we know you will.
Aside Bert Kreischer. You know where I'm going with this, Harrington. Oh my God, he's doing the whole show with no top on.
Yeah, they call me Bert Chrysler.
Yeah, Bert Chrysler. Bert. I don't know. You know where we're going with this, Harrington, because I want to get Paul's take on this, because I saw this story the other day, and it just blew my mind. There's a man that did a lot of running for preparation for fights, and now my knees are, well, they're non-existent. I saw this, and this is wild. I want to get your take on this, Paul.
So 23-year-old Kenyan Kelvin Kiptum. He became the first man to run a sub-201 marathon, an official competition at the Chicago Marathon over the weekend. His final time, 2 hours and 35 seconds, beating the previous world record by 34 seconds. Give you an idea, it's an average of 4 minutes and 36 seconds per mile.
Yes.
4 minutes, 36 seconds per mile for 26.2 miles. And just before I hand you the baton, Roger Bannister was famous for the 4 minute mile back in the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's doing 26 of them.
Yeah, dude. So I've done a lot of running in training for these things. And if I'm doing like quarter mile repeats at all out, I'm not doing that time consistently. Okay. Quarter mile track repeats where I'm all out. I'm not holding that man's pace that he's holding for a marathon.
What's a quarter mile repeat?
So just doing like once around the track is a quarter mile.
Okay.
So I'll do runs where part of the workout at the end of the workout is, I'll warm up for 20 minutes. We'll do, maybe 6 times a mile with rest in between. And then quarter miles, just going as hard as I can. I'm maybe holding like low 5 minute pace when I do those things. Now, granted, there's a lot of guys that I train with that are a lot faster than me that are doing those times and better. But to do that for a marathon is insane. It's insane.
It's wild. It's wild. Like, people listening to this, if they don't run very much, it's just mind blowing.
So for people at home, if you can get to a treadmill, go put your treadmill on like 15 miles an hour.
Is that what that would be? Is that the pace, about 15?
Like it's got to be. It's got to be about 15 miles an hour.
I used to do treadmill sprints at 10, but on an incline of 10. 10, 30 seconds on.
That's hard. 10's hard. 15 is insane.
Just on an incline of 10 as well. Just throwing that out there. but that's what I used to do when I was sprinting. 15 miles an hour for 26.2 miles. The burn in that man's lungs. I mean, I read that, and I know a lot of people listening to this, they're MMA fans, and they want to normally hear me and Anthony shoot the shit and talk bollocks. And you might think, we're not interested in marathons. If you can't appreciate and respect that, fuck me.
Yeah. And the guy's young, and he's had one other race that he did like 2:03 or 2 something, right? So he's relatively, of the Kenyans, relatively unknown to come out and break Chipchoge, who's basically the goat of marathon running. Ilya Chipchoge is the man, and when he did this,
Ilya Tapura is also a great marathon runner.
What's that?
Ilya Tapura runs marathons.
Chipchoge.
So to give you an idea, Kelvin coming into this already had the number 2 and number 3 fastest marathon time in history. So he now owns 3 of the top 4 spots.
Hold on. Harrington, come back. Harrington, as you're talking here, Harrington's nodding his head in appreciation. Like, do you follow marathons? Because I know you follow cricket and some other weird sports. But you were nodding away. That's right, Paul. Yeah, great analysis.
Well, he knew, because he knew that guy, right? Other than the guy's only done this a few times, but they're like some of the best times ever. He's not won a whole ton of marathons. The ones that he's won, though, it's like, okay, now you've got the record. You've like he said, 2nd and 3rd place or whatever. I mean, the guy, and he's only 23. Like, get the hell out of here.
Brian, do me a favor.
Blood, Michael. Let's test that blood.
Brian, do me a favor. Let's have a still of him. Let's have a look at him. If you can bring him on screen, because these Kenyans, man, there's something in the water or the bloodline. It's clearly the genetics. You know what I mean? It's always the Kenyans. They can run.
They're so little, and they train up in the mountains of Kenya. They just run on dirt from the time that they're, 4 years old. And there's not, you know what I mean? Like, this is what is big there. These guys go and train. He's
on his knees.
Yeah.
I was going to say he's a skinny little dude, but we got one on his knees, so he's extra small there. But hey, my God, unbelievable. Michael,
before we move on, the second half, I believe, they said that his second half, so his half marathon on the back end, would have been good enough for like 4th or 5th place at the world half marathon championships that they had recently. So his second half, after running a half already, would have been top 5 at the highest level of half marathon runners. He ran like a 59 and change or something like that. It's a sub hour for the half.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. And I'm amazed by this because, as I said before, I did a lot of running. When I was running, I never did too long when I was training for a fight because it's pointless. You're going to waste away too much muscle, and I don't need to go for an hour. You know what I mean? I would design runs that would last about 25, 30 minutes and go as fast as I could. Yeah. And I was not doing, I forget what it was now. And if I said something, I'd probably lie to make it a bit more impressive. It was something like, if I could do my 3.5 mile run in like 22 minutes or something like that, I was really happy. And that was in shape. And I was like an absolute madman. But that's still like 7.5 minutes. And that guy's shitting all over that. It's insane.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, my best time, even running half marathons, now granted after a bike, but the best I did was 1:30 and change. And that's like I think like a 6:50 something pace for 13 miles, but the sub 1:30 eluded me. It was that was my goal every single time off the bike, was to run at least a 1:29. And I don't know with this hip if I'm ever going to run a 1:29 at this point.
All right, football is back, and so is winning at MyBookie. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system give you options to bet and win all season long. First 2 legs of your parlay hits, well, cash out early and use the funds on another bet, or let it ride for the chance at an even bigger payday. You can use early cash outs as a tool to stay in control of the action at MyBookie. So to get started, go to mybookie.ag now and register for an account for free. When you're ready to make your first deposit, just use the promo code BELIEVE and you will grab a welcome bonus on the house. That is promo code BELIEVE to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip, which you can use in the MyBookie casino. Remember, you can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. mybookie.ag. Do you know what else is insane?
What?
Dillon Danis, Logan Paul, and this shit show of a. Have you seen what's happened this morning?
I just saw some of the face-offs and the bottles and microphones being thrown, and KSI and John Fury going at it.
Oh, God. Harrington, Brian, jump on, because this is hilarious. So, obviously, it's Misfits boxing. Logan Paul versus Dillon Danis, KSI, Tommy Fury. So, they had the press conference today. And then, first of all, before we get to the good stuff about the microphone throwing and whatnot, KSI and Logan Paul, or Tommy Fury, when they square up, they're in a cage, and there's a piece of glass between them, like perspex, and they're talking shit. John Fury gets his like, no man alive. He gets in and starts punching and headbutting the goddamn glass. I'm like, that guy is just comedy gold, but unintentional. And then we get to the good stuff where, so Logan Paul has been talking a lot of shit. His girlfriend is suing him. They've been pushing the buttons. They're talking about ruining him financially and all the rest of it. Then they go to square up. Logan throws a bottle of Prime or whatever the hell it was. And then Dillon has the microphone, cracks him in the face. Apparently he's cut his face open. Oh. Here we go. Watch it. Anyway, regardless, you can't really see much. So now it looks like it's going to be Mike Perry versus Dillon Danis.
Can I just give a little color to that? Logan just hopped on Twitter in the last hour and said, nope, fight is still on and the stakes just got raised. So he says he's still taking the fight.
What does that even mean?
He's suing him hard.
Just got raised, right? Like,
yeah, now he's suing him for assault, probably. But yeah,
my whole thing with that is, listen, I get it. You don't. He went a little insane with the girlfriend stuff. But what better way to show your girl or your wife or listen, baby, I got this. I'm gonna go put my fist through this dude's face. You're gonna sue him. How motivated am I now to come into this ring and really box you up and win this fight when all my money I'm going to win is leaned on and everything everything I own is basically going to go to this case? Dude, stop being a you-know-what. Like, fight the dude and go knock him out. I'm so over all this shenanigans. I get it. I get that it becomes popular. And listen, I tune in. I'm watching all this stuff too. But these guys aren't fighters. They're just celebrities. They know how to make moments. Doesn't mean you're tough. Like, cry me a river, bro. I'm sick of it.
No, and thank you very much, because I wanted to get your take on all of it, because I hate on it. I don't hate it. Listen, they're not fighters. It's entertainment. We talk on this podcast, and I take the piss out of them and things like that. And I take it all with a pinch of salt, but it does permeate my consciousness. It's all over social media. So it's very hard to not talk about it, because it excites the world, because they've got such a large young fan base. Yeah. So, I wish them all the best, and I hope ultimately nobody gets hurt. But it's just funny seeing these people like this parading around like they are real, actual badass fighters. You know what I mean? It's like it's the old cliche, don't look for the loudest guy in the room. The quietest guy in the room is normally the one that you want to be aware of. You know what I'm saying? Not that I was ever the quietest. You were probably a quiet guy. I'm the loud, obnoxious guy. But generally, you know what I mean? They're fucking got all these theatrics and robots like Jake Paul.
Consistently fight tough fights, fight battles with people. It's like, these guys, how many battles have they? You know what I mean? Like, you guys are great at making money. You're great at being popular. You're great at getting the attention of the next generation of kids coming up, which are obsessed with social media, obsessed with YouTube. And I have nothing against that. You are awesome at being successful. You're also handpicking the bums of the world to go and fight. You're not fighting Mike. There should be no Dillon Danis. You want a challenge? You should be fighting Mike Perry, because that's a legit challenge.
And you fought Mike Perry. I'm like, just as you were talking a second ago, I was just looking here, and yeah, you did. You lost by decision 2018. Yeah. I mean, another guy. What are your thoughts on Mike Perry right now? Because he's really reinvented himself in this bare knuckle genre, beating Michael Page, Luke Rockhold. I mean, how do you feel about him, number one? Are you guys cool? We're
cool. I got nothing against. Yeah, me and Mike Perry have nothing against each other. And I think it's awesome to see him thriving in this. This is where Mike Perry belonged the whole time. Granted, he could win MMA fights. He was good an MMA fighter too, but he's not the most polished. He didn't really care about doing all the other stuff. He just wants to throw hands and get into battles. Well, what better place to do that than in the boxing ring or bare knuckle boxing? So I think he's going to do really well, and really well financially for himself, doing what he's doing now. He's honestly better off as a fighter with his style, doing what he's doing.
UFC 300, Paul Felder comes back, gets a stunning victory. He says, I'm one and done. Paul Felder, bare knuckle boxing. Is that something you would ever entertain?
No, man. I think my family would probably ban me from coming back in the house Christine, my wife, already has given me enough about even all this talk of coming back for one more and all this and that, but she can understand it. It's MMA. It's where I belong. I work for the UFC. It's been my whole career. But if I came back, I was like, babe, I'm giving up my job as a commentator because I'm getting paid a big payday to go bare knuckle box. She'd be like, you're out of your mind. And I'm looking for a new husband. So
yeah. And fair enough. Listen, because, and going off on a tangent here, but people got to realize that the wives go through it.
Yeah.
Not as much as the fighters, because we're the ones stepping in, but it's an emotional roller coaster for the partners, the wives, the girlfriends, the fiancés, almost as much. Mentally, they go through the stress just as much.
Yeah. Yeah. And my family, my mom, oh my God, she would be furious if she found out I was going to be doing that. Now, boxing, different story. Bare knuckle, no way.
Yeah. We'll let you go in just a minute, Paul. I just want to ask you this, and thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. Anthony Smith left me in the lurch once again.
He's done, Harrington. Man. Hit me up, bro. I'm the new guy now. for a podcast nowadays anyway. So let's go.
You're the guy. Yeah. Anthony's got to be careful. And Harrington, I was almost with Harrington. I was with him on Monday. I'm like, no offense, Harrington, love you, brother. You do a great job. But I'm like, we got big stories. I need someone big. I need someone that knows the sport. We need the Irish Dragon. Let me ask you this. We got some guests jumping on in a minute. Anthony Pettis, I'm not sure. I think he jumps on in a minute. If you want to stick around 5 more minutes, he should be here.
I will say hi to Anthony for sure. I was hoping to see him this weekend. I was out in Vegas and Duke was in town too, but he didn't get in till Tuesday, and then I was on the red eye. But I know he's gearing up too, right? He's got something. Who's he fighting?
I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll tell us. But I wanted to ask you, because obviously you were training partners with him for a long time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Give me something embarrassing about Anthony Smith, because he's a cool guy. He's got the jewelry, he's got the shades, he's an incredible fighter, the former champion. He is. He's a smooth, cool guy. But there's got to be some story in the gym when there was no cameras around where, that we can laugh at. I don't mean like that he's going to fucking...
I'm not going to spill the beans on anything too crazy about him. Oh my God, I don't know. Some of my favorite moments from Anthony though was when he would roll in after one of his vacations, looking like he had been eating all the tacos that were offered to him, and he would come back and he would still jack people up. But asking him what his weight was and how heavy he used to get, it was amazing how Anthony would come back looking like he got stung by a bee. But as far as that, man, Anthony kept it up pretty close to the chest. I didn't see too much of him outside of the gym, so I don't have too much gold for you.
Okay, well, that's disappointing. I'll put you on the spot, to be fair. Anytime you put on the spot like that. All right, well, listen, we've kept you for about an hour.
I have like 10 things. I'm like, I should have said this.
Yeah, no, exactly. Harrington, are you good for a little bit then, Paul?
Yeah, I got a little bit longer.
Amazing. Well, anytime you need to go, just say. There will be no offense. We've kept you an hour already. Harrington, jump on, throw a story at us while we wait for the great Anthony Smith. What are we missing in terms of all the big stories that have just gone down this week? Is there any points we should touch on?
So let's see here. This one was actually really big. The UFC doing their first ever show in Saudi Arabia. They just announced this yesterday with a deal. It's part of the Saudi Arabia's like big push to get people out there for tourism for, I think it's pronounced Riyadh season or Riyadh season.
Riyadh. It's the capital city. You're the producer for one of the biggest MMA podcasts on the planet. You need to do research. You need to look it up. You need to know how to pronounce these words, Harrington. And for the love of God, you need to have a shirt on and sometimes a hat, because I can't see myself. Riyadh.
No arguments. To be fair, this is the UFC's first trip to Saudi Arabia. So now I'll never forget Riyadh, now that I've been corrected once. But yeah, they announced the deal yesterday. It looks like it's going to be a fight night, not a pay-per-view, but you have to assume it's going to be one of those marquee fight nights like a London or a Paris or even a UFC Noche.
Let me ask you this, Paul.
Yeah.
You get the call from the UFC. They say, right.
I'm probably going to Saudi Arabia either way.
Do you want to go to the Apex, or do you want to go to Saudi Arabia?
This is where I go.
I'm going fucking Saudi Arabia if I get the choice. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't think I have a choice on that one. But there's no other time that I'm going to say that I went to Saudi Arabia other than with the UFC. So let's be honest. That's one of those opportunities that, Saudi. So that's where Francis is fighting too, right? Isn't that in Saudi Arabia?
Francis Ngannou versus Fury in 2 weeks. And there's a lot of big fights happening out there. Fury versus Alexander Usyk, that's going to be there. Alexander Usyk, should I say. That's going to be there. They're throwing round ridiculous. Yeah,
I'm used to going over that area now. That would be travel. It's not like I'm not used to that travel. I'm going to be doing it on Tuesday, basically. So bring it on.
A hop, skip, and a jump. And Harrington, by the way, I did say around UFC 294, was there any points that we were missing? And he just throws UFC Saudi Arabia at us. So, you know.
My mistake. My mistake.
He's back.
I didn't hear the UFC 294 part. One other small piece of news. Islam Makhachev. Yeah, he has now his second opponent switch for this fight. Yeah, because I believe it's Nasruddin Imavov was supposed to fight him. He's out now. He was originally supposed to fight Paulo Costa. They switched that around to Khamzat. Now, stepping in on 10 days' notice also, Warley Alves, the guy who gave Colby Covington his first loss.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. It's on there already. Wikipedia, they get that shit up there fast.
Yeah, he's coming off a loss to Nicholas Dalby in a split decision recently.
All right, okay. I'm looking at the notes here. Have we got a video on this? John Fury has been busy over the last couple of days. No, it's like we got real MMA stuff to talk about, and I just want to talk about John Fury because I'm just looking for any excuse to do my impression. But John Fury has been busy over the last couple of days. During the open workouts yesterday, he hurled a bottle at KSI, who then spit at him. Then Greg Paul, Logan, and Jake's father went to shake John's hand. John immediately started questioning if Greg could beat him before being restrained. And there's a couple of links there, Brian. Have we got a video?
Is he trying to be this, or is this just John Fury, Michael?
Well, he came out and said this recently because did you see the press conference that they had a while ago where he flipped the table? And
Yeah.
I kind of appreciated what he said. He said, listen, I regret my actions. He said, but this is who I am. Most of the time, I'm a normal guy. He said, but sometimes I get I'm paraphrasing, of course. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, I get a little excited sometimes. I'm around fighters. The adrenaline starts flowing. And this is what you know? And I'm like, when I hear that, I can't help but go, you know what? Fair enough.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Because we're both fiery people. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I respect about you, Paul. You don't take no shit. You know what I mean? But you're not a bully. You're not a loudmouth or anything like that. But if you feel like someone's taking the piss, as we say in England, you'll be quick to fucking step up. And with John Fury acting like that, and forget the KSI spitting nonsense. I think I'd rather talk about this as men. You know, sometimes we do lose our cool, you know, and I respect what he said there, if I'm honest. What's this?
Hello, Greg Paul. How you doing, dog? You think you can beat me? Come on. You think you can beat me in a fight? I don't want to fight. You think you can beat me in a fight? No, really? No. Yeah. Oh, no. I want the float on you. You're good. Come on, John. I want the float on. Come on.
Is that just who is that dude?
I don't know. Harrington's got it in the notes here as somebody.
That's Logan and Jake's dad, Greg. So his son's fighting, their sons are fighting. John said, all right, it's a family versus family affair.
You think you can beat me? Do you think you can beat me? Oh, God. Could you imagine if John Fury just beat the shit out of their dad?
Did he fight? Did John fight?
I think he did. I think he did some I probably did some bare knuckle gypsy stuff. I don't know precisely.
Yeah. I should say, did he sanction fight? Because I'm sure he's had plenty of fights.
I'm sure he's bit someone's nose off here and there. You know what I mean?
Fight you for the caravan. He's one of those guys.
Do you get any gypsies around your way, Paul?
Not like that. Not the crazy UK. I don't even know what you'd call those types of gypsies.
Travelers is the preferred term. They don't like pikeys. They don't like gypsies. In fact, a lot of them don't really care. But growing up where I'm from, like the Furies, they're from Morecambe, which is, half an hour from where I'm from. There's a lot of gypsies, and there will always be a lot of fights. Like I remember, and I'm bringing up an old story here, Tyson Fury, we had a bit of a beef on Twitter and Instagram because he was always saying that his friend Gypsy John knocked me out outside of a nightclub in Blackburn one time. And I know what he was talking about, but he didn't knock me out outside of a nightclub in Blackburn. I lived in fucking America at that time. Yeah. The point I'm bringing up, though, is that, yes, gypsies were definitely a thing, you know what I mean? And, often they're a rough crowd. They like to fight, If you leave metal things in your garden, they will be taken. Bikes, fridges, anything that they can take to the scrap metal yard and get cash. Yeah. So no gypsies around Philadelphia.
No, there's lots of people on the street that do the same thing that don't have a home, but they're not travelers. But now, these communities are kind of popping up all over the place. I think that's becoming in any major city, right? Where there's just, you go out to, where's the beach, like Santa Monica area.
Venice Beach.
Yeah, God, dude. A couple of years ago, I was filming the stuff for Hacks and I was in that area and I was running, and it's like, I was running on like the path along the beach, if they decided to take me, like I was gone. I was going to be gobbled up by the society there. I mean, there was just literal villages on either side of on the trail. I was like,
yeah,
I'm
no.
and run back the other way.
No, it is. That area of LA is terrible. Then downtown LA is. And as you say, these areas are popping up more and more, homeless everywhere. I was just in Philadelphia recently, as I told you, and some areas I drove around, they look kind of tasty areas, like you wouldn't want to go wandering around by yourself on a dark night.
Oh, God, no, dude. Yeah, you go to certain parts of North Philly, even parts of South Philly, like where I grew up. Now, like if I went back there now, yeah, you gotta be looking around the corner for sure when you're walking around. Even as a kid, that's how it was, right? If you were by yourself, it was like we had like probably like a 3 or 4 block radius that I felt pretty decently walking in. If I went outside of that area by myself, it could end badly.
Well, let's talk about Chalk, and that is chalk.com. And Chalk, well, listen, they specialize in testosterone boosters, natural testosterone boosters, but more importantly, natural testosterone boosters that work. Listen, you've all seen them. There's testosterone boosters all over the place. A lot of them, they don't do anything. That's because the supplement industry is filled with nonsense, weak, trashy, dirty supplements. Chalk are proud to stand above the rest in clean, pure, healthy products, but more importantly, ones that work. You will feel the difference. Men's testosterone levels right now, they are at an all-time low. And that is why Chalk has created the new natural testosterone booster that is taking the sports nutrition world by storm. Okay. Listen, try this out. If you are, you don't have the same energy, the same pep in your step, the libido is suffering, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you're not getting the results out of your workouts. Maybe you're working like crazy. You're following a good diet, but you're still not getting the gains, for want of a better word. Probably you need to look at your testosterone. And Chalk Daily is the cleanest research-based testosterone booster available on the market. And along with Chalk Daily, be sure to check out their Male Vitality Stack and the Stack Ultra. They've got you all covered. There's no label fluffing, no underdosing, and all ingredients are measured to exact clinical research. And as I said, I've used this stuff. It works. You will feel the difference, literally. So go to chalk.com. While you're there, use the code BISPING. You will get 35% off your entire order. That is Chalk, CHOQ, Chalk.com. The promo code is BELIEVE for a 35% discount. Harrington, give us a non-MMA story. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to do it at your will. Whatever you want to choose. I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
All right.
Use wisely.
Okay, I'll give you guys a choice. How about this? Because I got 2 that I really like. One is a holdover from Monday. A bus driver, right? A school bus driver, will not be facing charges after they were caught drinking a White Claw while driving the school bus. Or
you can just give it up right now. Anthony's here.
Anthony Pettis, Showtime. Paul Felder.
Paul, what's up, bro?
Dude, he tried to get me to find an embarrassing story about you, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything good other than when Anthony would show up after a vacation, and just I was always impressed with how big of a lightweight he was when he came back. That was it.
Oh yeah,
that was the only embarrassing story I had about you.
That's not too bad.
No.
What's going on, Anthony? Thanks for joining us, buddy. I appreciate it. We had Paul Felder on, then I'm like, hold on a minute. You guys used to train with each other. So I said, Paul, do me a favor, stick around and say hi to Anthony. And I was just saying, because, look at you. You're a cool customer. Every time I see you at the Apex, you're always dripped out. You're looking fly. I'm like, there's got to be a time when Anthony Pettis wasn't the coolest motherfucker on the planet. I said, give me a story, but he had nothing.
I've been pretty cool, man. I've been pretty cool my whole life.
That's right.
Paul, you're coming back, right?
We'll see. One day at a time at this point.
He's sparring again? He back moving?
I am now. So, yeah, just the last couple of weeks I've been getting back in. So next time I'm out in Vegas, man, if you want to move around a lot.
Sure.
Anthony, I got to say congratulations on that fight with Roy Jones Jr. Obviously you didn't get the decision, but you
I did get the decision. I got the decision. I won.
Oh, shit. Of course you did. You won the decision. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Backtrack. Let's see that in instant replay. You beat Roy Jones Jr.
Beat Roy Jones Jr., bro. It was insane. Yeah, man. Like, it was crazy when I even got the phone call. Like, I remember my agent hit me up. I was actually in Cabo, Mexico, to Paul Felder's story, on vacation. But he calls me. He's like, hey, man, I got an opportunity for you, like boxing fights. I wanted to transition to boxing after PFL. And he's like, yeah, you won't believe who it is. It's Roy Jones Jr. I'm like, no way. Roy Jones Jr., a real fight, 8 rounds. And they're like, the only thing is you got to be at 200 pounds. So I'm like, damn, at the time I was like 185, I think 190 maybe, but out of shape. So I'm like, man, I got to put some muscle on. So I got the call in January. We fought April. It took me a couple months to put some muscle on. And obviously the game plan with Roy was not to knock him out. It was just to last out there and, outpoint him. And, this last fight was against Mike Tyson. I'm like, yo, I'm not going to knock this guy out. So I got to be smart about it. And we had a great game plan and it worked well.
That's unbelievable, man. It really is. I mean, just to say, not only that you beat him, just to share a ring, right? Because, I mean, in your mixed martial arts career and Paul's as well, we were just talking about this a second ago, and I can say it as well, I'm very proud of the people that I shared the octagon with, right? When it's all said and done, you want to look back and say, yeah, I fought the best guys. To share a boxing ring, all right, and listen, yeah, all right, as we know, he's not exactly 21 anymore, but still, to share, and I'm sure you know that, but to share the ring with him and to compete over 8 rounds, that's legendary.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. I mean, I grew up watching Roy Jones Jr. I mean, 4-time champion, different weight classes, heavyweight champ too. So yeah, it was like it was just one of those opportunities I couldn't pass up, man. I was like, yo, get to go out there and box Roy Jones Jr. in my hometown too. It was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So it was like, yeah, I had to do it.
You got anything for him, Paul? I want to hear some stories between you two.
Well, my favorite, as far as sparring stories go, we're going at it, doing like kickboxing sparring on Mondays. And if you've been the Rufus sport ever, Mondays is when we were always, the headgears are on, the shin pads, knee pads, getting after it. And we're spinning at each other like me and Anthony would often do it. And I got hit with a back fist, but it like split my whole upper lip open, but I didn't know that I got split. So we're going back. And the next thing I know, he's like, hold up, somebody's bleeding. And we just both had my blood all over each other. But
yeah, me and Paul used to go to war on them gyms. Rufus sport, man, every Mondays, every Mondays, it's time to go. Yeah, I actually miss Rufus sport. I haven't been back there in a while.
Yeah, it was back then.
As I said, I was asking him for any stories of when you weren't at your coolest, but Paul Felder, we just touched on this a minute ago, the Irish Dragon, he's got the Irish tendency in him. He can flare up a little bit. We got any stories about Paul where he's losing his shit?
Yeah. We got a bunch of them, bro. Paul was the funniest sparrer ever, bro. He used to go at it with everybody, bro. And he'll be talking shit like, I remember one time me and him were going at it, bro. Like throwing, I think we were just boxing sparring. We would do that.
Yeah, we'd warm up with just boxing.
Yeah. So we were boxing sparring, and me and Paul were going. And all of a sudden the bell rings and Paul just throws a haymaker, just connects me after the bell and just gets me clean. I'm like, damn, bro, you hit me after the bell. And he's like, I forgot how he put it, but he was like, yo, defend yourself at all times, basically. And I'm like, yo, he got me after the bell rang. He had a fight coming up though, so I let it go.
Dude, I remember Josh. Do you remember Josh, the tall, skinny, light-skinned kid?
Oh, yeah, he's in Colorado now. Yeah.
He's in Colorado, right. But he was pretty good. And I remember just gotten there. It was like the first camp I was doing there. And I was getting pieced up by everybody, Michael. Like, it was a rough transition to starting to train with those guys because everybody is so proficient in fucking kickboxing because of Duke style that I was just getting tore up. And I was just remember going at this kid, screaming, "You're a pussy!" All this kind of stuff. You know how we're talking about John Fury losing his cool. That was me losing my cool.
I gotta find some of those videos. I got some of those videos.
Guys,
That's brilliant. Yeah. So what's going on now, Anthony? Paul mentioned before you got a fight coming up, and he asked me off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
I thought I saw something that you got.
Yeah, no, nothing yet. Nothing scheduled. I'm still with PFL. PFL is going to do their pay-per-view format in February, I think, after Ngannou fights Tyson Fury. So I'm gonna do one more MMA fight with PFL on their pay-per-view format. But right now I'm focusing on boxing. I think next year I'll probably do three more boxing fights. Try to get my record up in boxing, especially I'm 36. If I'm gonna make a run at it, I have to go down. So I've just been really focused on boxing and actually building my fight show at APFC. The Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship. We're going to Manchester actually next week. My first time going there. So we're going to Manchester, and then we go to Puerto Rico. I'm doing Puerto Rico in November, APFC tryouts, just cultivate that area. And then we finish the year up in Milwaukee, November.
Nice, dude.
Jeez, you're a busy man.
Yeah, man.
It's incredible because a lot of fighters, they struggle after the UFC. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Congratulations, man. You're doing big things. You're beating Roy Jones Jr., you're boxing, you've got your own promotion. The PFL side of things, the pay-per-view thing, Jake Paul, is that something that interests you?
I don't even know. Man, I don't know if he's going to fight MMA. I feel like, it's you, Paul, what do you think of that? So, a boxer coming to MMA, it's totally different, man. Like, I'm in Vegas, so I see MMA guys go box against boxers all the time, and I see, I can see the deficiencies in the game, and I was like, MMA guy, it's a different sport.
It's the same thing for them to come and roll.
Exactly, right? It's a
first day trying to roll, like you're going to
do a low kick. Imagine a low kick. One of these guys get a low kick, it's a wrap. So I don't know. He does have a wrestling background though, so if he does, pop off in MMA, I would love that fight. That'd be a great fight for me.
What about boxing now?
Oh hell yeah, bro! Honestly, I hate this. I feel like I'm one of the best MMA guys coming over into boxing, bro. Roy Jones, obviously, like everybody's like he's older, he's still dangerous, bro. Like Roy Jones had skills. He's still out here sparring. Like I see Roy Jones sparring and young kids in Vegas right now. So I think the next fight, I got to fight somebody, that's relevant and still fighting right now. So that's the next goal. I'm going to go fight some guys and show my real skill set.
I'm not trying to get you to talk any shit, but give me your honest thoughts on that Jake Paul, Nate Diaz boxing match.
Man, I thought Nate would do more. I thought Nate would go out there and put more combo because Nate could box. So I saw Nate box before. I would say Nate's one of the better boxers in MMA, but his style is more like pitter pat. It's like you hit. It's like it builds up. So I think these boxers, when you're sparring these boxers, they understand the rhythm and timing that they're playing. It's a different than MMA. Like they're building off rhythm. And Jake Paul has great coaches, man. Like he has enough money to afford the best coaches. So I feel like he's actually really good at boxing. Him and his brother, they're good at boxing. But I mean, I thought Nate would do more. Honestly, I think he wants a rematch. I heard he's like pushing for a rematch in December. So we'll see.
It looked like he didn't take it. That's
serious, right? That's what I thought.
Do better than that before. Do you know what I mean?
I thought he didn't take it serious. I was like, I don't think he took that fight serious.
No.
He looked like shit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
He didn't throw enough. He didn't do enough.
He didn't look like he took it serious, man. Honestly, I was there live. I went there live to watch that one, and I just looked like he didn't take it serious, honestly. But
and I'm a Diaz fan, you know what I mean.
Diaz, man. I mean, we had our fight. We had beef before we fought, and then we fought. We squashed the beef, and he's actually a special guest at my APFC event in November in Milwaukee.
Oh, nice.
Oh shit, you beat him 2019.
No, he beat me. He beat me.
Oh shit! Oh my bad. I'm all over the place. I'm getting everything. You lost to Roy Jones. You beat Nate Diaz.
Now he beat me a decision, man. That was one of the shittiest performances I ever had, honestly. But
is that the fight, Anthony, that you cut your finger in the back?
Yep. Yeah,
I remember hearing about that, man.
Yes. I sued USADA on that one.
Yeah, well,
USADA's out the UFC, so now I could probably talk about it. No, actually, no, I can't. I signed a non-disclosure. Yeah, I can't really talk about it. But yeah, I sued USADA. I cut my hand on the piss test before the fight, bro. So the doctor gives me, or the guy in the back gives me the test, and it had like a shard of glass on it. So when I opened the container, it just gashed my thumb. So I had before the fight, I had a big ass gash in right in the webbing of my thumb. And I'm like, man, asking my wife, should I fight? And my coaches, and then Dana's like, yo, what are you gonna do, kid? And I'm like, fuck it, glue it up. I glued it up in the back, hit it with a light. And then I remember I couldn't even grapple. Every time I would touch anything, it would just break open. So yeah, it was not an excuse, but yeah, it was crazy.
No. But that story kind of came out at the time, right? Because I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Goddamn USADA. Once again.
Bro. Now they're done now, right?
They're done. They're down the street.
Good.
I'll be honest. Listen, I'm all for the drug testing and fair, clean sport.
Yeah.
But USADA used to infringe on it a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Rocking up. It's like, bro, come on, calm down a little bit. We're not fucking prisoners.
Exactly right. So I had me and Serge lived together for most of my UFC career. So man, at 4:30 in the morning, they'd be at our house.
Yeah, man.
Like fight week. I'm like, bro, why the hell are you coming at 4:35 in the morning? Before I'm getting ready to go get ready for my fight coming up. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of USADA.
Anthony, as a former champion, a former lightweight champion, you did incredible things in the sport. The belt's on the line this weekend. Obviously, Volkanovski stepping up against Islam Makhachev. First time having you on here, so thanks for your time, by the way, as well. Legend of the sport. Yeah. What do you think about the state of the lightweight division now from compared to, say, when you were there? And then obviously thoughts on the fight this weekend.
Man, honestly, like when Khabib came, he just dominated, bro. Like Khabib came over with that style and he just dominated the division. I think right before Khabib came, you know, I was a champ. I was a champ. I remember Khabib was calling me out at a press conference, but I was the champ. And then when I lost to RDA, he became the champ. It switched quick. It was like RDA, Eddie Alvarez, and then Conor McGregor, and then boom, all of a sudden, you know, Khabib came and just shut it down. That style, bro, like it's really hard. I mean, we all know it. That style, those guys fight not to lose. And I feel like Americans and like most of us, we fight to win. Like me, for sure. You know, I'm always trying to put on a show and I put myself in, you know, dumb situations. But those guys understand the game, man. They fight not to lose, and they got it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Paul?
No, I mean, yeah, dude, it was a much funner time back then before the Dagestan.
Whoa.
They came over and took over.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. You guys can't sit there as Americans. Listen, I know you're both strikers, right? Yeah. But when I was in England, everyone was telling me before I got to the UFC, because I was fighting 205, they're like, you're going to have to go to 185. I'm like, well, I'm fucking undefeated. What are you talking about? Like, no, you're going to have to go to 185. Wrestlers. Trust me, when you get out and you're fighting in America, those wrestlers, those college wrestlers, so you can't talk shit about the daggies. Yeah. You know what I mean? Man, you got your fair share of wrestlers in this country.
Them wrestlers not a cut weight. I think them guys are the ones that made all of our divisions weird. Because like most of us should be fighting at lower weight classes. Yeah. Our right weight classes, but these wrestlers are cutting so much weight that it forces us to compete.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Me and you are definitely not we should be fighting at 170 at least. You know what I mean?
65 would be a great position, but yeah, I fought at 172. I felt great at 170. But my last fight was Alex Morono. Remember, he was even bigger than me, bro. And he's like, the guys at 170 are big in the UFC, man.
Yeah, they're really. Some of those guys are massive, dude. Yep. Massive dudes.
I fought Wonder Boy too at 170. Wonder Boy was 170, bro. I remember walking into the cage, like I felt good in the weigh-ins, and all of a sudden he walked in the cage. I was like, God damn, this dude's huge.
And he's not even like the biggest guy in that division. Look,
not at all. But the way
he's moving up now, but like Michel Piejeda, have you ever seen that guy?
I just saw him at the PI. Dude's a monster.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, dude's a monster.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, no, he is. Obviously, I'm sure you know who Luke Thomas is, the reporter. Luke Thomas, and I see a lot of people on Twitter now as well, because USADA's kind of broken away from the UFC now. There will be another commission, agency, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of people out there say, oh, this is great. Fighters should be able to take as many steroids as they like, so we as fans get the best version. And that's kind of like Luke Thomas's point. And I apologize if I'm getting that wrong, Luke, because no doubt he'll come after me. But what do you think of it when people say that?
I mean, I like the fact that USADA cleaned the sport up, man. That was it felt good to fight fair, but I felt like they were just going too hard with it, you know, like they were just a little too much, like, you know, with the whereabouts and, you know, all that stuff. Like, I like that the sport's, you know, clean and fair, but if people want to cheat, man, there's ways. I mean, people are retiring and coming back, and you know, what were they doing when they retired? USADA wasn't there. Like, people are getting away with if you want to cheat, man, there's ways to get around it, basically.
Well, if you ask who was it just recently came out and they're like,
Cheeto.
$20,000. Yeah.
Cheeto Vera. Yeah, he came out and said that. I don't know how they do that, but I'm sure, listen, as long as there's sports, as long as there's money to be made.
Money, yeah. If there's money to be made. I mean, look at the Lance Armstrong thing. Look at what he was doing. I mean, like, if there's money to be made, bro, like there's ways to do it. I mean, I feel like cheating's been around forever. I mean, guys have been doing that since the beginning of the UFC. But I mean, I don't think the UFC is not going to have drug testing. I think they're just going to have a new organization do it, like the same concept. They can't go back and not have drug testing now. I feel like they're going to have. I mean, USADA's not the only one that does it, so I feel like, you know, they're supposed to make an announcement today. I'm pretty sure they're probably.
Could you imagine if it was just like, nah.
Good luck.
Chael Sonnen, Vanderlei Silva, Vitor Belfort.
Vitor's back for sure, bro.
Funny story. When I was in the PFL, so like we had to go to quarantine, whatever we wanted to call it, right?
Yeah,
so like, you know, it's tournament style. So it was like a weight class before us would fight, and then the next ones would ship in, and the next one would ship in. At one point, they had like all of the roster in the hotel at one time, but whoever stayed in my room before me had I'm taking my shirt out and I like to iron. Like, I iron my shit all the time before the fight. I open the ironing board up. On the bottom of the ironing board, there's shit taped to it. I forget what it was. It was a Russian name. I sent it to the PFL. I'm like, bro, whoever was in my room before me was cheating. Like,
not mine.
And I was like, no, I'm like, somebody was cheating like a motherfucker. Because it was like taped to the ironing board. Like they used the ironing board as like the way to get into their vein. Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember I told my coaches and shit, I'm like, bro, like this is crazy. Like, and they did nothing. I mean, nothing came with it.
Obviously, people like, well, there's that famous line from Nick Diaz. Oh, y'all motherfuckers on steroids. Right?
Yeah.
I know I was never on steroids, and you saw that. I think, and maybe I'm naive when I say this, but I think generally the sport was cleaned up. Certainly the UFC, not the sport, talking about the promotion.
Yeah.
I think because the testing was so stringent. But some people are of the opinion that people were still cheating and still getting around that. What do you guys both think? Paul, let you go first.
I mean, for sure. There's always going to be people getting around it. You look at MLB, NFL, all that kind of stuff. You don't think these guys, there's always going to be a way to try to avoid it. It's just, it's much higher risk, obviously, when somebody like USADA is around. And USADA, the people in their organization would be the first people to admit that, yeah, listen, the cheating side of things is always slightly more advanced than the drug tester side of it. The drug testers are always trying to catch up to catch the next big thing. Just watch some of these documentaries on Netflix about what these guys do to get around the system, dude. It's insane.
It's insane.
Or what Lance was doing to get around the system when he was cycling. The whole team was doing it. When what they find out after the fact is, I know he got crucified for it, but everyone that was winning or even in the top 10 with him, they were all cheating. They're all doping.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I think the same, honestly. Like, there's ways around it. And I mean, and USADA's always like adding new stuff. Like BP 157, I wasn't on there before, a peptide, they're adding new things to it. Guys had access to that shit way back. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, there's if they want to cheat, man, they can do it.
Yeah, it's a sad reality, but as you say, money is always the main motivator. Next week in Volkanovski is Islam Makhachev. As a former champion yourself, Anthony, I would be remiss if I didn't say, who do you think wins that?
Man, I mean, Islam had the whole camp. Volkanovski's a monster, though, bro. Like, I was excited to see Oliveira. I thought Oliveira was going to have a better performance in this one, but I mean, shit happens. But I mean, Volkanovski's a monster for stepping up. But I mean, I'm not sure of notice. It's hard to fight that Islam like that. He's one of the best,
I want to ask this. How does it feel to have a kick named after you? And more importantly, because we see this getting used quite a lot. There was a fighter on the Contender a couple of weeks ago, a Dagestani guy. Pardon me. And you were there. Actually. Did you invent that? Was you the first one to do that? Were you jump off the fence and throw the kick?
Yes, I was the first one to do it. But I used to jump off walls and break boards. That's what
Is he full of shit, Paul?
No, dude. I mean, I've seen him jump off and do other things off of the cage and walls and stuff other than that one too. But
man, I got some cool shit I didn't get to throw. Man, I wish if I ever do when I
didn't you do a knee against Cowboy too? You jumped off and kneed him too.
I wondered why I knocked him out with the off the cage punch.
Yeah.
That's why
I use the cage a lot. Yeah, I use the cage a lot. I mean, but it came from jumping off walls and breaking boards. Like at Taekwondo demos, I would jump off walls and break boards, and then me and my little bro were just messing around with it. I would just throw it at him in sparring, and then man, I did it at the right time, man. The last round of a title fight won me my belt, and
I remember still. I was watching that live. I loved WEC back in the day.
Me too, man. I love that Wednesday nights, bro. Sunday nights.
Yeah, dude. Man. And when I saw you, I was like, what the fuck? What just happened? What was that?
Yeah.
Was it Benson Henderson?
I remember I saw you your first fight. What was that?
Who did you knock out with the Showtime kick? Was it Benson?
Ben Henderson, yeah. Ben Henderson.
Yeah.
When Showtime punch was Thompson.
Yeah.
Did you spend time, because sometimes when I'm in my garage and I'm working on the bag myself, I'll work on new techniques, new combinations and stuff like that. I'll have a play around. Did you spend a lot of time literally thinking of innovative ways to set up strikes and to use the cage to your advantage?
Yep, a lot, man. Actually, I'm probably 10 years ago, I put a DVD out about all my kicks. I don't know what happened to that thing, but yeah, I have a bunch of them, bro. Like a cool collection of off the cage stuff that comes from a Taekwondo background mostly. But yeah, I made him work in the cage, jumping off the wall, passing guard. I was one of the first ones to do that, jumping off. And I see guys doing it all the time now, but I feel like a lot of the cage moves. I would say I was the innovator of all that stuff.
Nah, so that's cool as hell. DVD. Did you ever? Well, I remember when I first started getting into this. Like, who was it? Was it Randy Couture? George St. Pierre had one. Do you know what I mean? Like the instructional DVD.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I would get all of them. Yeah, honestly, that's how I learned before I met Duke. Like I would learn on just DVDs and VHS. When Blockbuster was on, we would go to Blockbuster and get the old UFCs, watch all that stuff. And that's how basically I learned jiu-jitsu. Honestly, was off of that stuff.
Go on, Paul.
I said I just missed Blockbuster. I missed those nights being like, I'm just gonna go get some old UFC VHSs. That's how I found out about MMA to begin with.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm older than you two, so I don't put you in the same bracket. But it is like an old guy thing to say when you say these kids these days have no idea. Because I remember when I first started MMA, I remember myself and a couple of people we were training with trying to figure out how to escape a triangle. You know, and we were, the same way, like when you say you're innovating techniques off the cage, we were trying different things. We're sitting around with spitballing. What if we do this? What if we put our arm there? Because back in the UK back then, I think there was one Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt in the country. Now they're 10 a penny. And now all you got to do is go to YouTube and it will show you any technique you want. I mean, it's wild how much it's changed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you ever see the Danaher series? That guy has some great stuff. John Danaher.
Sorry. I literally thought you meant Dharma.
Different techniques. Different techniques.
Dahmer's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's my hometown. Dahmer's from.
Dude.
Bro, literally, my house was probably a mile away from where that happened at. One bridge away from where all that happened at. Yeah.
So no doubt he's your favorite serial killer.
Bro, before the Bucks won their championship, like that's all people knew about was if I was like, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm like, isn't that where Dahmer's from?
Oh shit. Yeah. But Danaher had
Danaher, yeah. Like, but his DVD series, man, like his instructional stuff. If you watch that stuff, man, I'm like, that's everything you need to know, man. That's just it's deep.
Yeah, he's insane.
Do you still do jiu-jitsu, Paul?
Me?
Yeah.
I do. Well, now I do. I wasn't for the last couple of years when I was doing all the racing stuff.
Yeah, I was saying you're doing like triathlons, bro. You're killing that shit.
Bro, remember I ran into you at the pool the one day when I was out in Vegas. I've got obsessed with it, man. But that's kind of just my personality, right? I did the same thing with fighting and kickboxing back when I got into that, and karate when I was a little kid, and taekwondo. And this is just another obsession along the journey.
Are you done doing it, triathlons?
I'm not done doing it, but I think I'm done for a little while, just because it's harder on my hip, all the running, man. Like I'm still swimming, I'm still biking a lot. And I think in the future, what I'm going to get more into is doing way more bike races, gravel races and stuff like that. It's just way less on the hips.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I want to introduce our newest sponsor, which is X-Bar. They sent me one of these things. I have been using this every day in the gym. It is absolutely fantastic. X-Bar is your new home gym that you can use at home, obviously, but you can also take it on the road. And more importantly, you can target every single muscle in your body with this one piece of equipment. The X-Bar is an easy kind of like a curl style bar that uses resistance bands instead of weights. It comes with 5 pounds to 480 pounds of muscle building resistance. It is a full gym essentially in the palm of your hands, and it has a lot of instructions on how to use the X-Bar, and there's so many different exercises. So as I said, from 5 to 480 pounds, you can change the resistance to suit you, and there's literally, you can do endless amounts of exercises. As I said, it's a full gym in the palm of your hands. It's great for travel, and you can get the results of a 45-minute workout in about 10 to 15 minutes. Also safer for your joints. It gets a lifetime warranty and over 1,000 5-star reviews. You know why? Because I've been using it, and this thing is great. So go to xbar.com/pages/believe and use the discount code BELIEVE. You'll get 15% off and free shipping. That is xbar.com/pages/believe. Promo code is BELIEVE. You get 15% off and free shipping. Lifetime warranty. It's really good. Give it a try. You will not be disappointed. Oh!
Look at this.
Overlapping.
What up?
This guy.
Drew Dober.
What up, Dober?
I mean, I'm trying to kind of keep up with Pettis here.
Oh, look at this. You guys got the memo on the chains. All right. Listen, before we let you go, Paul Felder, you are the man. You're flying out to Abu Dhabi real soon. Thank you for taking the time today. I appreciate it. Anthony, what have you got coming up? You say you got some shows coming up.
Yeah, I got Manchester, October 20th, APFC on UFC Fight Pass. We got November 19th, Milwaukee APFC. Let's tune into that. And then next year I'll be competing again. So I'm taking the rest of this year off, focusing on these businesses, and then right back to work.
Well, I'll tell you what, I always love bumping into you at the Apex. Come on here anytime you got a show coming up, you let me know. We'll talk soon. I'll let you both go. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you very much.
Well, good to see you, man. Hit me up when you're in Vegas.
I will, man. Next time I'm in Vegas, I'll definitely hit you up.
All right, Drew. Have a good one, man.
And Drew, keep kicking ass, dude. You look great, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're a model over there, bro. Good lighting.
And he's in shape. I hate this guy.
All right, guys.
All right, later, boys. Take it easy. All right. And there he is, Drew Dober. This is like the lightweight showcase today.
I mean, I got excited on it. I just stepped into the room with like some elite legends in there. So, now I got to try to follow that up.
Yeah, well, no, you're doing great. You're a legend in the making yourself, brother. Good to have you back on the show. Everybody loved having you on last time. I apologize. Anthony Smith isn't here today. I think he's getting a manicure or something like that. Couldn't make the show. So,
I mean, it sounds something he'd get into. So,
Anthony Pettis, a former lightweight champion. Paul Felder, obviously a lightweight warrior that was highly ranked, beat some champions himself like Charles Oliveira. And you're moving up the rankings, doing big things. Last weekend, what a tremendous victory that was. Walk us through that evening, that night, please.
I mean, it was fun. I felt like I was back in the proving grounds at the Apex, fighting a tough, unheard of fighter, Ricky Glenn. And so I had to make a statement. I had to prove everyone that the last loss was more luck than ability. And man, we brought back some of the old, and it worked out fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a tremendous performance, and the hands are always fantastic. Massive power for a lightweight. Would you say, I mean, when I look at you, I think you stand out as one of the hardest hitters in the lightweight division.
I mean, I feel like statistically, it does show. I'm equally as dumbfounded. Yeah, I'm just as dumbfounded as everyone else, because the objective was never trying to KO people or become the KO king or whatever. Like, my objective was to just be the best fighter possible. But I think God has just gifted me with some hands.
So you have the most knockouts in the lightweight division now, right?
Yes, officially.
And what is that number? Because I'm looking at your record. You got 14 knockouts, but how many in the UFC?
9 in the UFC. I just surpassed the Dustin Poirier.
That is incredible. That really is, man. Congratulations. What a record to have, because listen, being in fights of the nights, they're great, but normally they're back and forth wars where you leave and you're covered in blood and all the rest of it. Knocking somebody out, it's the best feeling on planet Earth. I haven't done it nowhere near as many times as what you have. I mean, how does that feel I've been there myself, but you take us through that, because you've done that, because you have that record. Is that something that maybe you think can be a gift and a curse, and maybe that you rely on it a little bit too much?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And to go back to the original, I was just in a Chick-fil-A drive-through picking up some fast food. I turned to my wife and I'm like, we have the most knockouts in the lightweight division in the last 30 years the UFC has been around. We're breaking world records. That's incredible. I'm just super blessed, honored, and the feeling is surreal. And now what I hope is that this record and my name next to it just shines some stronger light on my name and gives me bigger and better opportunities, because I love my 9 knockouts, but I'd much rather have a better resume. I want to fight the better guys. And so, Dustin Poirier, who I just surpassed, has 2 TKO wins over Conor McGregor. So, that's what I want. I want the bigger, better, and more prestigious fights.
Yeah. No, of course you do. So what are you ranked now?
They were floating underneath the 15, so I don't have the number in front of my name quite yet.
All right, my apologies. So out of those 9 knockouts, you have 7 bonuses. So there's a nice extra 350K, which I'm sure doesn't hurt. I did see you the other day on Ariel's show talking about Dustin Poirier, and that's someone you want to fight. Realistically, who do you think you'll get next? I think you inserted yourself back into the conversation pretty big. That was a stunning knockout. Obviously, you had that thing with Matt Favola. Looking back now, that's in the past. But who do you think it'll be next?
I mean, like, if I'm going to answer realistically, like, I have no idea. Like, we say names that sound interesting, and and then it's an interesting scenario now since Bobby Green is now in the like 12 or 13, and so realistically, I can compete with anybody just underneath the top 10. So we got Renato Moicano. I think Diego Ferreira just got pushed out of the rankings, but that's something available. Cat on there, Paul Felder, he said he's getting back in the pool, so that would be a very interesting fight. Jalen Turner, who just lost to Dan Hooker, I mean, he's been looking really good. So I'm thinking like somewhere in like the 15 to 11 area would be a more realistic an opponent.
Yeah, I mean, when you're there and you're competing, and obviously there's that, there's the Frivola fight, which is why what I'm about to say happened. But Bobby Green's the main event. Does that sting a little bit, or do you see it for what it is? Because obviously you had that loss to Frivola.
No, not at all. It didn't sting. One, because I love Bobby. I'm a huge fan of him, and he deserves every success that he has. And it showcases my strong opinion on the fact that one knockout does not represent your legacy. I don't care who you are, man. The more times you roll the dice, the better chance you're to roll a snake eyes. So we messed up. But, I mean, as you know, as I know, man, like Adriano Martin knocked out Islam Makhachev. Who cares? Matt Serra knocked out George St. Pierre. Who cares? Right? Like, it's just one of those things where like one knockout does not represent who you are as a fighter and your legacy. So, man, we slipped up. It was a problem. We recovered from it, and now we're building that momentum again. And I'm going to show everyone that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because, as you say, you fight in this sport against the kind of competition that you're up against. For long enough, it happens. Unfortunately, it's not like boxing. Boxing, it can be the end of a career, which it really, really shouldn't. And if anything, and I'm talking not necessarily talking about you, I'm talking about fighters in general. I think people enjoy or they respect people more. They like to see them. Yeah, of course, we want to see somebody go on crazy runs like Conor McGregor did, and become a 2-weight division champion. That's incredible. But to see fighters that do well and then they stumble, then they pick themselves back up and they rebuild and they come back bigger, better than ever. I think people love to see those kind of journeys.
And we see it with the Rocky movies. Like, we just fast forward to the final fight scene, or if he like knocks out Apollo Creed in the first round, right? The movie's just boring. We want to see the trials, tribulations, the recovery, the overcoming the obstacles. That's why I love the lightweight division between like Charles Oliveira. I mean, he had his poor times. Michael Chandler getting signed by the UFC at 35. Man, we see all these now champions like overcoming obstacles in their later age. And man, I think that's the story. That's what people are interested in, and that's the stories I'm trying to create too.
Yeah. No, I mean, you mentioned Charles Oliveira there. We'll get to that in just a second because obviously there's a lot of meat on that bone. But you mentioned the Rocky movies, which I absolutely love. Favorite Rocky movie out of the whole series?
Man, it's either going to be the number one, the first one, or 4 when he fought the Russian.
I love Rocky IV, but you know what? I just saw Sylvester Stallone did an interview recently, and he ranked all of his Rocky movies. It was on a British TV show. Jonathan Ross or Graham Norton, regardless, doesn't matter. He said that he really hates Rocky V. He fucking despises it. He said that he thought it was terrible, and that's why he had to do the one after that, because he had to make up for it. I don't know if I'm like alone on an island by myself, but I thought Rocky V was the shit. I really liked it.
Did you? I'll be honest, I haven't seen it. I heard from so many people to like just don't watch it, avoid it. It'll just like leave a bad taste in your mouth. So in my memories, it goes from 1, 4, and then his more recent one. Like we skip 5 altogether.
You're going to check it out. We'll do a movie review. Anyway, listen, as you say, Charles Oliveira had fallen on hard times throughout his career. Got beaten many times. Then he comes back, becomes the champion, loses to Islam. Then he has the rematch and then blows cuts his eye, and now he's out of that. Volkanovski's stepping in as a lightweight, as someone that is definitely going to be in this position in sometime in the future. And I do firmly believe that, Drew. You're doing incredible things. What do you make of this whole situation? What are your thoughts?
It's unfortunate, because we want to see the best guys in the lightweight division fight each other, and that's Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. What Dana White said, like, man, the stitches could have been done better, and the whole procedure could have done more professionally. So it was just a disappointing news. The Volk fight stepping in, like, what a gangster Volk is. However, man, if Volk wins this fight, it stalls out the division because now they're 1-1. Now they'll do a trilogy fight. And in my opinion, Justin Gaethje deserves the next title shot. Now he's got to wait longer. What are we going to do with Charles Oliveira now? And so, like, it just kind of stalls out the division that really needs some movement.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because it will be a rubber match. I mean, it would have to be, right, if Volkanovski wins. And then they're going to do an interim belt at 145, which I kind of understand because he's the featherweight champ. So, yeah, wild. You mentioned Justin Gaethje there. I know you called out Dustin Poirier, and I'm sure that's kind of out of respect. Or is there any beef there?
No. Justin Gaethje and our teammates.
Your mate.
All our beef is settled every Tuesday and Friday at Team Elevation. So as a teammate, I'm like, he gets the next title shot.
Tell me about those sparring sessions.
Dude, we could probably record it and make some money on Instagram lives. It's really, not only do we share the same personality, we share the same amount of love and passion for the sport. We're both reckless and chaotic. And those sparring sessions are super fun.
Let me ask you this, and I wouldn't expect you to betray any trust of things that are only said behind closed doors and to personal friends. Do you know, or would you be willing to share any of Justin's thoughts on this whole situation? Because was Justin offered the fight against Islam or anything like that? Do you know anything about that? And if you don't want to talk, then I fully respect that as well.
The most I know is I just asked the question, is Justin Gaethje the official replacement? And I think what they said, like, Gamrot was like the replacement, the official alternative. And so Justin Gaethje is just kind of preparing for the inevitable that he will get the title fight. So, he's in the gym, he's training, he's working hard, but I don't think it was going to be like a short notice thing for Justin.
Harrington just put in the notes here. Poirier says that he was contacted about filling in too. Harrington, just jump on and tell me that. You never mentioned that before. That's kind of a big point. Really?
So somebody on Twitter reached out to Poirier and said, hey, did the UFC reach out to you about possibly filling in for Oliveira? He said, yes, they did. And I said, yes, but that was the end of the conversation.
Okay. Well, I guess there's more of a storyline. I don't know. Is there a story? No, Dustin Poirier versus Islam. That would have been amazing as well.
Again, the best guys in the lightweight division. But again, there's that Volk where people think that Volk should have got the decision. So I think there's a little bit more of a proving grounds there.
Who do you think won the first one? Because I commentated the fight and I hadn't watched it back until yesterday. Yesterday I watched it so I could give some in-depth analysis, and I watched it properly, and I was kind of surprised because I thought that Volkanovski won the fight 3-2 by a very, very close margin. But what were your opinions on the original one?
I had the same opinion, 3-2. I pretty much had it in the bag, like, Volk just won that fight only by sheer control, dominance. So it's not not improving your position, but what you're doing in that current position. And I think Volkanovski was winning the stationary positions, progressing, where Islam was more of doing the stalemate, stalling out. So I think the attempt to finish a fight should be more rewarding than securing and dominating a singular position. So I thought Volk won 3-2 just because he was looking for the finish, where Islam towards the end of the fight was kind of just more stalling out the positions.
Yeah. And Volk dropped him in the third round as well. I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth. Obviously, I don't expect you to critique anybody's performances, but if you were in the corner of Volkanovski next weekend, or if you were to coach him or to guide him or to offer any tips, just between us, what do you think Volkanovski could do differently this time to ensure that he gets his arm raised?
Dude, like everything he did perfectly, from the mentality to engaging in the grappling to all that. I think the only thing he could improve on is don't give up positions. I think the only way he lost that fight was he was more apt on like keeping the chaos rolling, and then he ended up in a worse position. Where this fight, be more particular about maintaining the dominant position always.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry, I don't mean to ask you about other people's fights, but it's a big one that just happened yesterday. The world's losing its mind. When do you think you'll be back in there? Have you heard anything from the UFC? I mean, it's only been a week. Probably not, right?
Yeah, I mean, they asked me how soon I can get back, and so I told Sean that at the earliest we can get in December. So that December 16th card looks very fun. Now it's a matter of what?
Is that in China? Oh, no, T-Mobile Arena. Arena. What am I saying?
Yeah, Las Vegas.
There is a fight card. There is a fight card in China as well. I don't know the date, but sorry. Yeah.
That was fun, but
yeah.
But so I just tell the UFC whenever I'm like ready, like I can be ready to go by December. Now it's just a matter of who's available, what kind of style of fight does the UFC want to portray, and we'll see if there like is any opportunity in December. But I said at the earliest December, anything after that, like it's a full go. Like I'm trying to stay active.
Yeah. Well, on that same fight card, we got Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. How do you see that one going down? And now
Tony Ferguson.
There's an interesting storyline. Yeah, Tony Ferguson and Paddy. What do you think happened? Oh, sorry, that's it, Bobby Green. But Bobby Green, I'm all over the place today. My pet's head's falling off. I am losing the plot. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many like breaking news in the past like 3 days. So it's been a cluster.
Yeah. But Bobby Green just knocked out Grant Dawson, and that's the wrinkle in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Because Bobby Green beat Tony Ferguson. So I was 3 steps ahead mentally, you know what I mean? Because Tony Ferguson, as we know the narrative, he's lost his last 6 in a row, fighting Paddy Pimblett. But now Bobby goes out there and destroys Grant Dawson in 33 seconds. I think now that fight looks a little bit spicier.
The Ferguson and Paddy fight? Yeah. It makes sense to me. I think everyone was kind of dumbfounded. I'm like, no, it makes sense. Where Tony was up here and he's on the down, Paddy is bringing that hype and he's on his way up. They're both wild. Like Paddy Pimblett and his wild jiu-jitsu, and Tony Ferguson with his antics. I think it's just a wild fight that people are going to be entertained by. And I mean, you can either build Paddy's name off Ferguson, or you can give Ferguson kind of like the wild fight that can bring him back. So to me, it makes absolute sense. As far as like the rankings go, I don't think it's going to do much for them in the ranking side.
No, but it's a fun fight. I think you can agree there. For fans, I think everyone wants to see that. Everyone loves to see Paddy. And I think they're really intrigued on the story, right? How's he going to look after what happened with Jared Gordon and Tony Ferguson? He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves that guy. Anthony Smith, you know this guy very well. I know that a lot of people are watching this thinking, Jesus Christ, I just got to tolerate Bisping by himself. Give us an Anthony Smith story that you think he wouldn't want to be shared. Nothing too bad, nothing too personal, but tell us something about Anthony that we might not know.
Oh, man, what do you not know about Anthony? Truthfully, I think the first thing that comes to my mind was, in Nebraska, we had like the Friday night fights, and it was like no training camp, no forethought, no nothing. You showed up at 4:00. They found you an opponent by 5:00. Fight start at 6, right? And so you're fighting guys from the audience, from like, just those backyards. Like, it doesn't matter, right? And me, I'm trying to be a martial artist, a professional. Like, I want to be in the UFC. I'm like trying to carry myself as a professional, right?
Looking down your nose at this a little bit, you're like, I'm better than this.
Kind of. I mean, like, I'm like, well, I train, and these guys don't. So we got to behave ourselves accordingly, But holy, Anthony Smith fought every weekend, twice sometimes. And I thought to myself, like, holy shit, like, if I want to be a UFC fighter, I got to have some of that. Just that FU mentality of like, I will fight anyone, anywhere. I don't care. I'm here on Saturday. Come bring it. Like, dude, Anthony Smith lived in that cage.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that's probably why he's got about 1,000 fights on his record. But obviously, the version that I know of Anthony is the clean-cut ESPN presenter. You know what I mean? Very well-spoken, articulate. But when you look, you see the tattoos all over the hands, right? And then he tells us a few stories on here. He's had some wild times. The version of Anthony Smith that you met, I'm assuming, is pretty different to the version that we see all buttoned up with a suit on ESPN.
I mean, I was surprised. Like, yeah, I mean, he was hanging around with the interesting crowd in the hood, like with the tattoos, bad mouthing people. Like, I mean, he was the character, like gangster, like hood, like just what you would see in like hip hop videos. Like, man, just fighting every weekend, and like kind of like a little like mobster, like one of those like sluggers. The you talk about my friend, I'm gonna throw down right now, like one of those cats. And so when he put on a suit, I'm like, you look even more like a slugger now, just for the mafia.
Yeah. He looks like a hitman for the mafia. You're right. But that's the great thing about life, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a journey. I mean, certainly I had some colorful days back in my past, and, we all kind of reinvent ourselves. We mature as we go along. Harrington and Bryant, jump on, because I'm sure you've got some questions about Anthony Smith, and we've got some questions from the fans for you as well, Drew. Harrington just put in the chat there, got some fan questions if you want. Give him some fan questions or Twitter questions. Don't use the word fan. I don't like the word fan. You know this.
Believers.
What? The believers. Questions from the believers.
We got a lot of air moving through this show. Drew.
Do you use the term fans? Do you say my fans?
I don't like fans. I truthfully don't like the word fan. That just sounds like they're like beneath me. Where truthfully, man, like they're the ones paying my bills. Like the reason I'm fighting is because of these guys. So they're more like homies to me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you articulated that perfectly because, listen, I understand that if you're Taylor Swift or you're this guy or Eddie Murphy or whatever, you've got legions of fans. And I'm sure maybe if you want to dissect it down to its most appropriate meaning, then maybe we do. But just I would never allow myself to get so carried away that I would have a conversation about my fans. And I used to have a difference with the old co-host on this. And he was like, what are you talking about? These are my fans. These are my fans. I'm like, anytime you start talking about my fans, you've disappeared up your own backside.
I agree wholeheartedly.
See, Harrington?
The only reason I would put them beneath is because they are literally supporting. They're holding you guys up. So thank God for these guys, for the believers who sent in questions. So Josh wants to know, what was the most difficult part of returning to fight camp after your first child was born?
Timing. I mean, the whole juggling act with my wife and I, just having that strong conversation of like, I got to go to the gym and I don't know for how long. Like, like training camps are just indefinite. Like you leave when you leave, you come back when you come back, and it's just super spontaneous and sporadic. So yeah, just the juggling act with my wife, because she works full time too. She's probably equally, if not more, successful than I am. So we just had to just figure that out, and it was hard at first, but that balance and then the humbling, it really helped out with the camp. So once we got over the learning curve, man, then it was just perfect after that.
So
yeah, and it does throw in it does change the dynamic for sure. And we got to give a special mention to the mothers out there. I'm not trying to be overly PC, but it's true because when you're going through a training camp, obviously I can only speak from my situation, but Rebecca would be so helpful, with my food and all my dietary requirements and anything that I needed. And then of course children come into the mix and they've got even more stress and strain and all the rest of it. So shouts out to all the mothers. Harrington, next question.
Oh, okay. Isaiah Peck wants to know, we don't see much of your submission game these days. So I was wondering, what's your favorite submission to practice in training?
My favorite submission growing up was the armbar. Like I loved like textbook one-on-one arm bars, and we've attempted so many in my regional careers for armbar. We just had to look at the numbers, and statistically, my attempts way outweighed the success rate. So I'm like, all right, even though it's my favorite, let's focus on the high percentage moves. So as of now, we're really putting a lot of emphasis on arm triangles.
Sorry, Drew, I was listening. It is like 1,000,000 degrees in this room. I was texting my wife, turn the AC. You can probably see the sweat. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It is goddamn
I thought I was
boiling.
just the one making you hot. So I was just getting flattered.
No, come on. You had to go there. Just because you got the chiseled jaw, you fought last weekend. You know what I mean? What do you weigh right now?
180.
180. Okay.
Yeah, that's me trying to keep it low.
I was going to say, so what's the heaviest you get? Because anytime I would get, and I've said this many times, anytime I would make 185, you look in the mirror, you're like, oh, I look great. I'm going to stay like this. I'm not putting the weight on. But of course, fast forward 6 weeks and, I've got the beer belly back.
Mm-hmm,
How long until your six pack is gone?
I mean, who knows? I'm fairly vain, so I might just try to keep this six pack indefinitely. However, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of me just entering the UFC. In my 20s, I lived the Paddy Pimblett life for a little bit. We got all the way up to 195. I might have been 200. I didn't see the number, so I just pretend it didn't exist. But yeah, we would get up there to 200 pounds and then do the drastic cut and then come right back up, and it was this big yo-yo thing. So now at 34 years old, we mellowed out a little bit.
It's funny, as you get older, you start to learn, get a bit more experience. But I did the same thing as well, One more question, please, Harrington, before we let Drew go about his day. And thank you for your time, by the way.
Okay, so I thought this was kind of interesting from Dave Buttle. How did you get into the UFC? He says, recently I was watching The Ultimate Fighter season 15, seeing a young Drew Dober, expected him to win the show, and I was shocked when he didn't even make the house. F. Darren Cruikshank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the season 15 was like that live season. It was very disappointing. I trained my ass off, to not only perform at my best, but make weight 3 times in the house. And then the fight to get in the house was a 1-round scenario, and I lost by decision in 5 minutes. So it was super disappointing. I went back home. We fought a UFC veteran, TJ O'Brien, black belt in jiu-jitsu. I ended up submitting him with a rear naked choke, and I thought that was it. UFC's calling, Dana White, I'm ready, right? And we heard crickets, nothing. So we had to look around at other promotions, and I found this KO King from Colorado, 155-pound champion, never been out of the first round, knocking everyone out. And the UFC had their eyes on him. They pretty much said, you win one fight, you're in the UFC. And I went, that's me. And I went out to Colorado, fought the champ. The hardest I've ever been hit. I lost that first round for sure. But we came back. He saw the second round, and he wasn't ready for it. And we won the second round. The third round was close, beating the champion by split decision. And I got the call 1 week later.
There you go. And the legend was born. Ultimate Fighter Live. I forgot about that one. Who were the coaches on that?
It was Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was not a good season. The live thing really took away from the drama and the story. Michael Chiesa had the coolest. He ended up winning, best story in the house. But you really didn't understand any of the other athletes because it was so fast.
Yeah. No, I remember at the time it did cause kind of a few issues, and it was just one and done on the live thing. But talking of done, our time is over, Drew.
Well, that's unfortunate. Well, you gotta let me know when I can hop back on again.
Dude, would you love to come on and co-host with me sometime?
I would love to. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, amazing, because Paul Felder jumped on today because Anthony's getting a pedicure or something, as I said. Next time he can't make it. Next time he's too big for his boots. Next time, he's like, Bisping, I don't need you. I'll be in touch, we would love to have you jump on, please.
I mean, it'd be an honor to be a Smith substitute. So just keep my number on speed dial.
Man, listen, thanks for your time today. Congrats on the win last week again. Can't wait to see you back and get you back on the show. All right, take care, Drew. All the best.
Thank you so much, man.
Man. All right, there he is, Drew Dober. Harrington, jump on the show. What a packed show today. Big thanks to Paul Felder, Anthony Pettis, and, of course, Drew Dober. I mean, we have been going 2 hours solid. Thank you to all three of them. Thank you to you as well. What a show.
Absolutely loved it. Love having, different guests on, not saying anything bad about Anthony Smith, but getting an hour in with Paul Felder. That's a treat.
Yeah. No, it was great to get his perspective. Obviously, he's got a fantastic mind for mixed martial arts, being a UFC commentator and being around and sharing the octagon with so many legends. So thank you to him as well for his time. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do questions today. We're going to save them for when we've got Anthony, because we've been going for 2 hours strong. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe and ring that bell. And Anthony Brian Harrington has a special offer for you as well.
If you're listening on Spotify, where you find podcasts, make sure to subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating, positive review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel and you hit that notification bell to find out whenever a new episode drops. And if you want to catch over 400 episodes you can't find anywhere else, completely ad-free and totally uncensored, head to gasdigital.com. Use the promo code BYM. Get yourself a 7-day free trial. Check out over 20 great shows on the network.
And if you want to come to Tales from the Octagon too, go to myticket.co.uk. You can see me, Tom Aspinall and Paul Craig all making goddamn fools of ourselves. Don't miss it. December 14th, 16th, Manchester, London, myticket.co.uk, or just search Tales from the Octagon. Doors, number 2. I got to take a number 2. So we got to go. We're going to wrap this one up. I need the bathroom. It's been 2 hours and my face is very red. Do I look red to you?
Maybe a little more so than usual. Is it hot in that room?
It's very hot. She just put the AC on. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We appreciate you all. We'll be back on Monday with Anthony Smith discussing the fights that are happening this weekend. It's a shame we didn't get to that stuff. Of course, we've got the great Edson Barboza going up against Sadiq Youssef. Going to be a great fight, so check that out. But we'll give you a wrap-up of all that content, all that action over the weekend and lots more. No doubt there's going to be a lot of breaking news. UFC 294 fight week is upon us next week. So Monday, we're back with Anthony. Stay tuned. Have a great weekend.